inch of my heart here. Trying to find a button. Anyway, yeah, to talk about, I can't see the title, borderlines and codependence, or borderline and codependent situationship, and the scars, because you deserve so much more than a bunch of scars. And a lot of people, that's what you kind of got out of it so far. Or people are still getting scarred, hurt, abused, etc., and don't really well, they might know it, but they haven't done anything to change it. And I just want to say, this is so irrelevant, but like they put the regular start and end live stream button back. So I'm so happy. Anyway, that's kind of silly, isn't it? Because like, who cares? So anyway, I care. Anyway. Oh, hey there, Maria. It's going okay. How's it going for you? What's it been, an hour since I finished working with clients? It was a long day. But anyway, other than that, it's going okay. And so I'm hoping this isn't a blinding color, because I don't know what color it is. I thought it was yellow. I think it's lime green. I don't know if it's somewhere in between. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. It just looks really freaking bright there. So yeah, people in these situationships, toxic situationships, who have codependency with people with BPD, right? And all the interplay and all the stuckness and all the things around it. Well, and this is like, feel free, it's a Q&A if you have Q's. And if you just have S's, which means you want to share, go ahead and do that too. Just want to chat. So I came here with I could have more on my mind. That would be a good idea. So, but yeah, full days of working with clients, 8, 9, 10. I don't do this every day, but sometimes, yes, 10 clients in a day. That's a lot. But you know what it is more than that? It's a lot of learning for me, a lot of helping, a lot of guiding, a lot of psychoeducation, all of that. But I learn so much from each client. And one of the things that I'm just going to talk a little bit, I'm not going to say much about it here, but I got more coming somewhere else, as I keep saying, but really it will come to a membership site or to video series. I'm just not sure which way I'm going, what platform, but I will make my mind up soon. So the point is, though, that rumination after these relationships, or in between the recycled relationships, or when people have gone no contact or sort of no contact, but not really full no contact. So all these different things that are happening for people, rumination is a huge piece of this, driven by cognitive dissonance, driven by the whole unhealthy bondedness of it all, and a lot of things. But I've tried to say this different ways. What I think is really important for people with codependency to think about is that rumination, like I've said, it keeps people with codependency exercising their codependent muscles, right? But more to the point, it's a massive sort of escape and defense strategy, often, I would say subconsciously, in those with codependency, because it keeps you, focused on that borderline or that narcissist, but primarily we're here to talk about borderline exes, keeps you focused on that. Or if it's a parent, or if it was a favorite person, or any relationship type. I don't know, I just get all itchy weird here. Then under the light's too long. The point is that rumination is also it's a protection. So how does it really function but dysfunction for people with codependency? Why does it feel so impossible to stop? Why does it feel impossible to do something besides that? Because I think in a way rumination is a subconscious kind of choice, but nobody knows that. Doesn't feel like a choice, right? So the thing about that is, of course, what does it do? Rumination, among other things, it keeps you busy, away from yourself, right? More of that codependent self-abandonment. It keeps you away from yourself. It keeps you from focusing on yourself. And it keeps people in a place that is a terrible place to be, but it feels like you're in control. This is the other element for people with codependency. No, you don't feel like you're in control of the cluster B, etc. But by focusing on the cluster B, by this rumination as a protective kind of defense and a strategy to avoid self, it kind of becomes an element of control for people at a time when they most feel out of control. Because what are you going to do now? Because everything you begin, and I don't mean that sarcastically, kind of came out with a weird tone. What are you going to do now, though? Because the relationship is, or the situationship is like on, off, trying to get out of it, kind of no contact, and could get recycled, could get hoovered back, want to get hoovered back, not sure. So all this rumination is protecting people with codependency from what they least need protecting from. And to go with the thumbnail on this thing, you deserve more than a bunch of scars, right? So, but what if people get out and weigh in if you have anything to say about your experience? What do you think you've gotten out of so far, if you're still, if you're still in the relationship? Or, if you're an ex now or somewhere in the middle, what do you think you've gotten out of this situationship with a borderline? Like, obviously pain and a whole bunch of stuff, but that, and or does anybody have anything to share that they think they've gotten out of it so far that really, it's not something you want, it's not a good deal, you're frustrated, you want to get back with them. Or on the other hand, some people are really done, really want to get healing, really want to get busy doing that. So what do you think, like the control, what do you think about the control of people with codependency, not consciously, but that you're trying to control something so you still don't have to look at yourself? Because again, I want to stress for people with codependency that you didn't just get codependency in this relationship if you're still in it, or if you're the ex or wherever you are in the middle of on and off and recycling. Because so people with codependency need to realize the gravity, the importance, the depth, the adverse childhood experience behind codependency is formidable and extremely painful. And it is something that people are trying to externalize control at like crazy. Why? Because you learned in childhood. You were trained, not like maybe consciously on purpose in childhood, one way or another, to put yourself aside, to like abandon yourself, to pursue needs through others. It's a little bit almost overlapping with BPD in that sense, isn't it? But I don't mean it in the same way. But this is what's going on. And so people, after the relationship is over, or if they ghost or discard you, or you ended it, or it's like I said, in the middle, not on and off and whatever, then people with codependency feel like now what do I do? Like, and I'm not saying it's the same for every single person, but significant to severe codependence will be like lost to the pain and agony of it all, but more importantly to like not being able to turn to self, not knowing how to really focus on self. And many people are past that now, but many people aren't. Now I'm still working with clients that some are just getting into it, into the process of actually focusing on themselves, and some are still in the stages where, pardon me, oh, I'm gonna sound like a product tonight. Where we are, where they, some are still in the stages where they're very much, clients I'm working with, trying to get to, break through. It's, I would say, it's like a scar. It's scar tissue. But from a lifetime, not just a cluster B. So that multi-layered, multifaceted situation, reality of codependent pursuit and externalizing out of needs and trying to get the needs met through other, which I'm not saying is like people with BPD and what they're doing with people with codependency, but it starts in childhood. So for people with codependency, it's really that pain that you've had for so long in your life of not being seen and not being heard. And then some people with codependency, like the inner critic is just so inflamed, right? And the inner critic says to the codependent, how could I have been so stupid as to fall for this? And yet the idealization of the borderline, the mirroring phase, I mean, not the mirroring phase, the idealization mirroring phase with the people-pleasing thrown in, that's, like I've said before, the hunger, the insatiable hunger emotionally that people have for to be seen and to be heard. And then along comes this idealizing, mirroring, I want to please you, not really real person, but you don't know that yet. And they come in that package that is your particular preference and what you're looking for. And then I have clients who still, even when they're halfway through the process, they'll just be like, yeah, but wherever, whatever we're talking about or wherever they are in a session. But I just really still want to get back that feeling again because I so needed it, and I've never had that before in my life. And see, imagine when you're aware of that and how difficult it still is to be in a healing recovery journey. Imagine how impossible it would feel, or how many people are stuck not getting into the action of, in some cases, getting out of the relationship first. Sometimes you've been ghosted or discarded, but of getting into the action of seeking your own therapy now for your own healing and recovery, because it's like two things, really. You just like, I never felt that good before in my life, and I have to get that back. I need to get me some more of that. And then this avoiding self. And people with codependency, a lot of people don't know how to just focus on themselves. No kidding. I mean this really seriously. And so I want to get some more of that. I need that. My God, that was like the most amazing thing I ever experienced. Never mind whether it was love or they loved you or you didn't love them. Let's just stick with that part. And then, so people with codependency, it's like, there's still that investment in that, and that's a block. And then if you get into action, into therapy, like that stays a block for people at different times. And I know when I'm working with clients, it doesn't mean we're totally stuck and there's nothing else to do, but it's so difficult for people with codependence to realize that you need to get out of the relationship, go full no contact. It all feels impossible. You want that good feeling back. You've only been chasing it, pursuing it for your whole life, or since you were 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years old or something. And you want it because you deserve it. But, it's better in a healthy way. So this is what codependents need to, I'm almost going to just challenge people here. Turn it into your motivation. I want that feeling again, because you can get that feeling again. Get into therapy. I'm out here to work with you if you resonate with me. But you get into therapy. You work through the process. Yeah, it's going to hurt a little bit. Leaning into the adversity, because there's only one way through, and that's through the pain. But what happens is people progress through that healing and recovery from codependency and the relationship, and you can find your own closure. And amazing things happen for people. And I mean, I've healed from codependency, so I already know this, right? But use the motivator of, I got to get into therapy. I got to get away from this person, because you know what you're holding yourself back from? You're holding yourself back from getting that feeling and then some going forward in your life after healing and recovery for the rest of your freaking life. Guess why? Not only is it going to be different for you with everyone, and you're going to be having a healthy relationship too and with yourself, and you're going to be healthier going forward, and that's going to open up all kinds of possibilities like friendships, relationship and everything. But before you even go there, you're going to learn how to validate you. You're going to learn how to be you fully. You're going to learn how to be an independent person. Self-validate, self-soothe. You won't need to pursue needs outside of yourself anymore. In the codependent repetition compulsion cycles, you will get that feeling of the idealization, the mirroring. You'll get that and then some when you heal and recover. I hope people can think about that and use that as a motivator, that there's a journey and a process, and it's got its, peaks and valleys, and it can be painful for a while. But nothing that we start anew, like any journey, like healing from codependency and the relationship with the cluster B or the BPD, nothing that we wade into new is going to just give us rewards and yield us what we want and the change and the amazing feeling that's better than being idealized by a borderline and holding on to the scars of that and the remnants of that and wanting to get them back and wanting that feeling back. You can know that and then some for yourself. And guess what? You'll be the source of it. You don't have to pursue it. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to earn it, work for it, or anything. Because I guess you earn it and you kind of work for it through your healing and recovery process. But it's the unlearning for people with codependence of the idea, the notion, the repetition compulsion, the built-in programmed, really lousy, not well experienced, not ideology, that you need to be a hero, be a rescuer, be a fixer, enable someone else, be a superhero, achieve and do and shine and all this stuff. Or some people go the other way and they're just a scapegoat and so they play up the role, not consciously, but of just screwing up because people are trying to get seen and heard. Everybody needs that. So you can do this for yourself through this healing and recovery journey. So that's one thing I really want to put out there, I hope, in an empowering way, because, it's interesting. I've kind of known this, but it's not about me. But, I have a way of motivating people, and I think that helps in the client work. And I don't know if I've been doing enough of it here, and maybe somebody's listening to me right now and thinks, what's motivational about this? Okay, but hopefully some people can get the motivational aspect of not only what I'm saying that's true, and that you can really go through this process and know what I just said, like know it for yourself, but also that, I just hope it is motivational. And if you think about what is, this what disincentivizes is often like, that feeling was the greatest feeling I've ever known in my life, and I got to get it back. And then it's focus on the cluster B and all this, recycling and going around in circles and denying self, etc. When really, if you go straight forward and face the winds of adversity, because kites fly higher in the wind, right? It's like when you have that weight, when you have something pushing back on you, and you can find whatever it is, like how about the fact that if you keep going through this healing recovery process from codependency in the relationship, in your own therapy, that you can find that feeling and then some, and all for yourself, from yourself, in an independent way, without having to sacrifice yourself for another second or anything about who you really are. Coming into full radical acceptance in a mindful way of who you are, into the empowerment that I'm not only talking about here, but trying to model for you, in the sense that what other people think of me is none of my business. I will not be shamed. I will not be put into feeling guilty about what anybody else says, thinks, does, whatever. I don't care. I am an independent, empowered human being. And this is what's at the end of that journey for everybody. So I just want to make that really clear. Because when I reference myself, I'm not saying, ooh, so I'm special. No, this is a journey that all can take. And so if you think the only way to get that incredible feeling back, and I'm not here to say, hey, it wasn't an incredible feeling, because I hear it so much, I believe people. But you don't need to go back to everything that accompanied that, the initial incredible feeling that you're trying to get back. You just need to sort of let go a little more of the focus on understanding everything about the borderline and get in your own process and start to learn more about you. What happened to you in your childhood? Why is it that you don't have, if self-esteem is overblown, but that too, but why is it that you're lacking self-worth? Why is it that you don't feel like you're worthy of loving yourself, of being there for yourself, of breaking the pattern of pursuing, all kinds of emotional things, like being seen and being heard and being validated and being reciprocated to or given to, that you need to chase that? That's what people with codependency learn in childhood, that you gotta dance, perform, get with it, help the parent. You gotta pursue. And usually parents like that don't have it anyway to give you, So the time, the attention, the nurture, this is all how I work with clients anyway, built into the process of recovery. So you can know this for yourself. You don't need to recapture something with the cluster B or with the borderline in order to know this for yourself. These glasses are freaking hurting my ears. Just saying. Anyway, Alicia, hey there. In a way, codependency, self-abandonment is my dissociation strategy. Well, yeah, and you probably know, right? It started in childhood. And not like exactly, but in a similar fashion to what people with BPD end up having to do with all their defenses and a total loss of self, it, becomes their dissociation and their, coping skills and defense mechanisms. And so this happens for people with codependency too. It's not the exact same. But then what happens is you get to adulthood, and what was adaptive, whether you have BPD or just people with codependency, what was adaptive to surviving the environment and or the cluster B parent or parents or whatever was going on in family of origin, it becomes maladaptive when people get to the age, at least chronologically, of adulthood, because maybe people with BPD lagging further behind, and some people with codependency, it's different for people with codependency. So, but yeah, that's good insight, Alicia. And then you said, if I'm focused on others, I get to avoid autonomous feelings. Yes, and the agency and everything that people actually want that becomes, after you get through the healing recovery process, a better feeling than even what you remember about being idealized by a borderline. And that, that kind of seeming to, for a time until it all changes, quench your incredible hunger, emotional hunger to be seen and to be heard, because it is the cry of the wounded inner child, and it must be healed. The inner child, the wounded inner child in every person with codependency after these relationships, or just in general, that's the cry that you need to answer, to rescue, to heal, to change that part inside yourself, and then yourself, and integrate with your wounded inner child. Because this idea that you're going to do this through other is what people learn in childhood. And many people with codependency fear emotional intimacy. They fear commitment. They have abandonment fears. They have all kinds of things going on, not to the same extent or extreme as people with BPD. But and not every codependent has what I just mentioned, and it depends. But the other reason why codependents, and often with a cluster B parent, will end up with a cluster B is because you might not know this yet, but you don't know yourself, and without that healthy functional relationship with and to self, instead of the dysfunctional unhealthy one that people with codependency have, you can't really be ready for as much emotional intimacy and consistency and reciprocity as you think. And that's why people end up with cluster Bs, because it's about the codependent repetition, unconscious reality of, I have to work for this. I need to chase and pursue this. Because if somebody just turned around and handed it to you, and you haven't done any healing recovery work from codependency, probably be pretty scary and overwhelming, actually. And then Alicia said on the rest of your comment there, I can, quote, feel, unquote, others. Then I have an excuse to feel bizarre. No, then you have an excuse to feel, sorry. And then new sentence. Bizarre way to describe it, but it seems like that. So you can feel others, and then you have an excuse to feel. Well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because codependents are afraid of their own feelings, because they weren't validated in childhood. Sorry for the itchy nose. They weren't validated in childhood, so you get shamed and hurt, and you don't get what you need, and then guess what? Not necessarily consciously, but people come to believe that they're not worthy of it. That, they just too afraid in a different way for people with codependency that somebody could actually, you first need to do it for yourself. See you, hear you, validate you, love you, create this healthy relationship. But people don't feel worthy of even that because it's kind of foreign for quite a while, because it's not how people have been living their lives even before the BPD or the NPD. And John said, I think I'm getting better. My mother complains about her problems and expects me to fix them, all while treating me like crap. I don't even want to hear that crap anymore. Well, that's positive. That's fantastic, John. And you might still have a little of it to work out, but, you know. And Alicia said, if I focus on others, I get to avoid the discomfort of guilt or helplessness because whatever I'm soothing isn't sustainable. Well, yeah, and more to the point, when you focus on others, you're trying to kind of soothe yourself with that somehow, but it doesn't work. It doesn't really ever come back to you. It doesn't soothe anything inside of you. And if it feels like it does, I'm just saying to people in general, it's a pseudo kind of deal. It's not really the real thing. There might be a substitute or a bit of an illusion even. And Natalie, to Alicia. Oh, cool. And John agrees with the ladies. Alicia, I think there is some fear that surfaces that when I refrain from codependent behavior, I will be punished or blamed. I see that I avoid the opinions of others. Well, yeah, because you're very aware and you're very much on your journey, but you're still there's still some shame wound there, because and that creates fear, because you're like, if you, how'd you put that? You fear that wait a minute. There's some fear that surfaces when you refrain from codependent behavior, that you'll be punished or blamed. And yeah, I mean, because that happened to you for just trying to be you, right? It happens to people. And so there's still that fear that without the sort of maladaptive sort of hiding of self and giving too much to others, and maybe subconsciously, not consciously aware that you're trying to get something back too, it's sort of like where the codependent false self comes in, because the false self is trying to say, I need and want this and this and this, but I'm kind of really afraid of it. And so, it's kind of like that, I think, if that makes sense. And you said, I have gotten curious about certain experiences like anxiety. I'm learning that it has information. Oh, yeah, it does. It does. Anxiety and pain are two of the greatest teachers out there. Anxiety is not comfortable. But when people have anxiety, it's conflicting feelings, emotions, and thoughts. And I know in my healing and recovery journey, when anxiety started to, I had it off and on, when it really started to peak in a way that, it was hard to deal with, I didn't know, but it was about to bring me some real truth. And then I was going to be able to heal something else that repressed memories is what that was about. And so do you know Hans Selye, who was one of the pioneering experts on anxiety, without some modicum of anxiety, we could not even be alive. So people think anxiety is a horrible thing. It's not fun to feel. But anxiety has a purpose. And I remember a therapist saying to me a long time ago, when I was having anxiety and panic attacks, and I was in the middle of one in the group therapy, and I'm pacing around the room. I'd ask for permission to do that first. And then I'm just and this therapist was sitting there, and I'm like, can I talk to you after? And everybody else stayed to listen and watch, I guess, because I thought they were going to leave. But maybe they wanted to, it turned out like there was a real lesson there, so maybe they learned something too. But this therapist, I said to her, I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out with this anxiety. I don't know what to do with it. And she said, she was so calm. She was so calm. She goes, sometimes when I have anxiety, and I went, what? You have anxiety? Because, we get to thinking so poorly of ourselves. We think, oh, we're the only one going through this, and we're going through it because there's something wrong with us, And so she goes, so that was like, wow, she has anxiety too? Get out of here. And she goes, well, when I have anxiety, if I'm at home, I just tend to have a shower. I just kind of feel it. And she's saying this, I'm in the middle of an anxiety attack that wouldn't quit. But it was just like, it was amazing. It was a new kind of unfolding for me about how to radically accept the anxiety. See, a lot of people after a relationship with somebody with BPD or NPD, and you're in this terrible place. It's like no fun for sure. And there aren't enough adjectives to describe it. Well, when they get anxious after that, and anxious with all the conflicting emotions and the cognitive dissonance, etc., that they run to shrinks and get like meds for that. No, there's so many natural ways to take care of it. And the anxiety, like you said, Alicia, it is a messenger. It is a teacher. There's more that people need to learn and to know and grow into. And yeah, it's not comfortable. So at that point, it's really about learning how, in a natural way, to, focus on the breath, to slow things down, to work through an anxiety attack, to cope with it, or anxiety if it's not a straight up anxiety attack. And you said sometimes it means my compulsion and urges are itching. Then I see the need to soothe myself. Oh, excellent. And you said I haven't figured out how to soothe effectively or consistently, but I'm at least interested in it. Baby steps. Yeah, well, it is one step at a time. Yeah. It reminds me, I gotta watch that movie again. What was it called? With Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss. Where the book, The Shrink and the Thing, wrote was like baby steps, baby steps. And Bill Murray's walking to the shrink's office, baby steps with high anxiety. But it's true, really is true, and helpful to take it and have that attitude. It is one step at a time. Peachy Gin, how do you develop a better relationship with yourself? Well, that's not something I'm going to be able to it's not just a recipe I can drop here in a hurry. Therapy, a process, not a short process. Inner child work, family of origin work, self-differentiation, like I'm always saying. It's a process. And it's not the same for any two people. It can be similar. But, there's just not something I can just give a quick answer to, because it's more complicated than that. And it really isn't something you can just describe, because people have to take action. People have to seek after it and be in action, even when you don't know exactly what. You got to be walking down the path when you don't even, you've never been on the path before. And it's like, I don't know, is there a cliff coming up? Is there a river? Is there another tree here? Where's the curve in this path lead? You have to be in the action of being on the journey to really be able to find the answer to a question like that. Christina, hi AJ. Do you think there's any correlation between codependency and middle children? Well, not specifically, but it's not like if you're a middle child you would be more codependent or less codependent. Depends on the overall family of origin and how it is dysfunctioning, to tell you the truth. Because I think that's one thing. It can be different for different siblings in the same family, but not really specifically correlated with middle children. I mean, I think the firstborn, the lastborn, and anybody in the middle, it depends what's going on in the family of origin. I think I just said that, didn't I? Yeah, twice now. Okay. Okay, Peachy Gin, if you're going to ask me these kind of questions, you're not going to get answers here because, how do you self-integrate? You go to therapy. You work on the inner child healing, the family of origin work, the self-differentiation, and more. You go through a process. It's a process. I can't just go, you do this, this, and this, and then you're self-integrated. So, again, nothing wrong with your questions, but they're not answerable like how do I wash my face? I could answer that one for you, right? But how do you do this other work that involves an emotional process and committing to it and taking action on it and going through it? There's no simple answers, So I really can't answer that in just a simple way. Alicia, that being seen and heard thing, is a driver mainly. Yes, I didn't notice that. I haven't fully seen or heard and validated myself. Once again, I'm a beginner. Well, yeah, but you're on the journey and you're really, gaining insight and lots of momentum, and it's one step at a time. Because that's the goal, right? Along with getting to this knowing of self, healthy relationship to and with self that creates, so people go from being codependent to independent. And then you don't even long for or need the BPDX. You're not going to be worried. You'll gain closure on the way. But the other thing is, and then people don't have to feel like they're longing for, desperate for, need to rush out and find somebody to be in a relationship with. No. First, you're going to celebrate finding yourself more fully, healing, and being in a relationship, so to speak. Enjoy the relationship with and to yourself. And after that, everything's gravy, and it becomes a lot easier, too. A lot healthier to discern who you should and shouldn't bother with. Maria, it's sad that even after ending everything, we want to understand, our ex-partners so much, well, they probably don't care at all to understand our experience. The rumination really does keep us stuck. Well, yeah, and people with BPD don't even have untreated, right? No self other boundary, no self-coherence, no reference for others, no idea of the impact on others. So to varying degrees, intellectually, they might have some ideas, but emotionally, no. And they're still too busy, frankly, with what's going on for them still inside. That they go to the next person and play the whole thing out again. So, but people with codependency are making choices that are in a different way, but is equally based on repetition, compulsion, externalizing out patterns that are sort of automatic because people have been doing them since they were young children. So it's really gaining that awareness, I believe, that can really help people to make different choices. Like, I'm not saying people shouldn't want to know a bit more or some more about BPD. It depends where you are in that. But if you think you need to be an expert in it, like somebody gave me an answer one night about why they're, they still want to know more and more because they're fascinated with it now. Well, get into your own healing recovery journey and get fascinated with yourself. What's wrong with that? Why be fascinated with a, quote, mental illness, whatever people are comfortable with? But why get fascinated with borderline personality or narcissist when that just keeps taking you further away from yourself? For a lot of people with codependency, not all, you've had a parent like that. And how fascinating were they at the end of the day? Because they've caused you this woundedness that's now been added to by another cluster B. For many people, not all. Hey there, Lottie. Hey, Rav. You said, hi, AJ. I think the movie was... Yeah, what about Bob? Thank you. It just wasn't going to come in my head. I was thinking of all kinds of other movies like Down and Out in Beverly Hills. No, that's not it. All these things were going through my mind. Thank you for that. Yeah, I gotta watch that again soon. It's funny. I love it. But I gotta work more. I mean, I do enough client work as it is, but I gotta get other things done too. But I have to have downtime. I do. Natalie, yes, anxiety is a teacher. It's been teaching me a lot in the last 24 hours. Well, I'm sort of sorry to hear that because, yeah. Is the movie you're talking about? Yeah, what about Bob? It is. If so, that's a good movie. Yeah. Peterson, can one really recover from codependency? Yeah, you really can. It doesn't happen overnight, but like the idea that you have to have it forever. I mean, it's one of those things where, if you recover from codependency, and I finally am, it took a long time, not brand new, but last couple years, and then of my life I really got through it, the rest of it. And then I had the codependency thing going on the channel here. So it taught me a lot. And I'm over it. And so, but what we have to watch out for with codependency, as Pia Melody writes about, or Melody Beattie, or I don't know why she's called two different things. But in her, one of her older books, Codependent No More, is that if you get back around another, one of these unhealthy characters or whatever, then you have to just watch out. It's not like you're going to slide all the way back or be totally codependent and lose yourself. But we have to sometimes be mindful That's all. But, or you could take a step back or something. But it's not like taking a step back into not being recovered, so to speak. It's a little bit of fluidity there. But with mindfulness, and Jake, lay down. Oh, he's such a weirdo. Cute though. Mindfulness and also the realization, anyways, you can recover. And what it looks like and what it means is really found in the process, because you become so independent, so that you can go on, and when you want to have your next relationship, you find somebody else healthy and independent, and then a healthy relationship with real healthy love in it, is two independent people coming together in interdependence, not codependence, counterdependence, which means like right now with my partner and I, it's great. Like seriously fantastic relationship. She's amazing. And she happens to think pretty well of me too. But like if for some reason we couldn't be together, or something went wrong, or one of us loses the other, what I know about the relationship I'm in right now and about myself is, well, I wouldn't want that to happen, right? But if all of a sudden she wasn't in my life, I know already right now that I would be okay, because I know that I know me and I can trust me. And this is what's so key about the relationship to self, because the degree to which we can love others, we have to love ourselves first. The degree to which we can trust others, we have to trust ourselves, because it's not really that we're putting out trust to other people, like me on this platform and what happens in general anyways, never mind right now lately. I have to keep coming here with trust. That trust isn't necessarily put in, no offense to anybody, it's not put into you people. It's I trust me to deal with whatever comes next. So trust is like finding self-worth, like this independence, all about all these things that people will find through this journey of recovering from codependency and, of course, the cluster B relationship. It's all what, how can I put it? I just think we're sort of born with, it's supposed to work and function, but families often don't work and function. And then we have to go these big circuitous routes of all these painful lessons and everything. And then even now, even with that, it's hard for people to go, I got to go do this work, and it's going to kind of hurt for a while, because it hurts for a while, and then you start to see the benefits. It's not like right away that you get all the benefits. And then you said BPD wife divorced me after cheating on me. We have a kid together. Is this ever manageable to be co-parents? P.S. She's already married in less than a year. Oh, well, that gives me a clue. I would say manageable, you got to try somehow, but peacefully, or, well, hassles galore with a person with, especially if they're untreated BPD, then you got to co-parent. Usually a freaking nightmare. And that's why when people get divorced, and I don't know all the different court stuff, but some people get arrangements where, if the child is young and you have to share custody, then people have third parties, and sometimes people with BPD are under court supervision, that they have to be supervised. So the thing is, it's really building in the agreement. But even when there's agreements, and even when there's penalties to the agreements, it doesn't, borderlines and boundaries, right? Doesn't work if they're untreated. So you have to do the best you can do. You get a lot of nonsense in the process of trying to co-parent. Maybe not from every single person with BPD, but it sounds like the fact that yours was married within a year, it's like, yeah, okay. But it kind of gives a red flag to this. But, co-parenting has to be, and it's hard to do with people with BPD because they don't do boundaries, right? There has to be extreme low contact to where all you will engage about is the child. And of course, the borderline's going to go on and on about everything else, and you did this to me, and you're still a schmuck, and whatever they blamed you for. But very, very difficult situations, these co-parenting situations. And then people have to, some people with BPD are worse than, well, frankly, we're talking about women here, aren't we, as mothers? so some women with BPD who are mothers are worse, like, because they'll get into the parental alienation, but they don't all do it, like, to the nines. They don't all do it, but if they're doing that too, it gets even more difficult to deal with them. But important to do so for the sake of a child or children. Lottie, I worry that although everyone is an individual, is something that is very difficult for me to explain how important I think this is, while also talking about how important I think groups are. Well, yeah, but the thing is, I mean, no offense, Lottie, but I think people, when I'm talking about one thing, think about the opposite or something else, and it's like it's reductionist because I can't say everything blah at once. But when I say something for and about something, it doesn't mean I'm anti the opposite. So it's not all about the individual. But in these healing recovery journeys, it's a lot of processing about getting to know self. So and each person's journey through therapy with this is their own individual one. And so when people are wounded, like people with codependency are too, like relationally, it did, maybe some relationships in your life work, but like the significant other ones don't. And for some people, none of them do with codependency because they just keep encountering the same thing. But the bottom line is, so psychology is, I don't want to say the study of, but it's about individuals, right? And it's about helping people to heal and recover various things. And then the goal with that is, as each individual is healthier and stronger and happier and knows themselves, then there's going to be a better interface, interaction, engagement with, in a sociological perspective of the group, society. So it's not like they don't influence each other, because they do. Because the more unhealthy individuals, the more cluster Bs we have accruing in this world, is like, that's in the sociological milieu of the group too. That complicates the group. So what do you have in a group? You have a group of individuals. So you got the coexisting reality of what I would say would be psychology and sociology, but you've got the individuals and you've got the group. And then it depends on the mental health of the individuals and other things, like maybe character, moral philosophy, as to whether that group is going to be able to have any cohesion, be healthy, or not. So it all begins with the individual, and then it extends out to groups. And I love studying sociology as much as psychology, almost, maybe, I don't know. And Alicia, it would be cool to know if anyone has been has seen a crack of light coming through with codependency. My outside life is just as messy, but I feel a little trust inside. Well, that's interesting, because I think what you're describing is that maybe you've seen a crack of light coming through all the codependency. What do you think? And Peterson, someone once told me the codependents keep falling for the same people with just a different face. Well, that's very true if you don't go and get into therapy to heal and recover from that. And is it likely to be the next cluster B and the next cluster B? Yeah, people have those patterns, and many people have had relationships like one after the other with people, cluster B. And then you said, this scares the crap out of me whenever I think about dating again. Any ideas how to go about it? Well, I would say, first, it depends if you've been on, in therapy to heal and recover from codependency. Depends where you're at with codependency. And I don't know, but from what you said so far, if it scares the crap out of you, you're probably not ready to date yet. There's probably more work there to do. So I don't know. But people need to heal from codependency and the relationship and know themselves strongly and build that relationship before you think about the next relationship with someone else, or you are going to just repeat a bunch of patterns. So thinking about dating again, it's individual too, but, been my experience, because, I healed and recovered from BPD, and then, like a long time ago, but then, like, I had a relationship with a BPD, NPD alcoholic, 2004, 2006, and then I was like, in everybody's shoes here. Like, I had to recover from that relationship and went through a lot of similar things, the rumination, all the things that people are talking about here after the BPD or the BPD, NPD or whatever. Yeah, alcoholic on top was just like the special cherry on top of a nightmare of a situationship. But the thing is, most people should be at least 18 months no dating. 18 months out of that, at least. And so for some people, it's 2 years. For some people, it might be a tad longer. But people that jump back into dating before they're ready or before they've gone through this kind of healing recovery journey, I don't care how many triggers or how many YouTubers talk about all the red flags of this, that, and the other thing, you're still going to be susceptible and vulnerable to narcissistic love bombing or BPD idealization. Because, people have to answer in codependency recovery the cry of that insatiable emotional hunger of, I need to be seen and heard from within. It's an inside job and involves the wounded inner child. And when people do that work, this is why healthier people who aren't really that, there's cultural codependence, but healthier people who don't have codependency in this way we're talking about from childhood adverse experience, when they meet up with a narcissist or a borderline with the love bombing or the idealization and mirroring, they're like, whoa, what's this about? And they get gone because they don't have the insatiable emotional hunger to be heard and to be seen, because they are what in object relations would be referred to healthy. They are a whole object unit part all by themselves, so an independent person. So I would just say to people, be careful where you're at, how much work have you done, if any, in therapy, and if you haven't done any, you're going to drag your codependent repetition compulsion cycles and patterns with you. And that gets people into more hurt and pain and trouble than they need. And often for people with codependence too, they're longing, if you haven't got into healing recovery, you're longing for the next relationship. You need it. You gotta have. People get desperate for it. All this means you haven't healed the codependent. I'm not saying this to the one commenter. I'm just saying, the more people are still anxious or in a hurry to date, red flag there. More work to do on codependency. More work to do on a healthier relationship to and with yourself first. And by the way, I've had a lot of clients over the years that when they're sort of mid-process and they think they're ready and they'll go out and date and maybe they meet some healthier people, guess what the healthier people say to them? This isn't working for me because you're not healthy enough. Or if they recognize, this isn't working for me, you're too codependent. So there's that too. And Lottie said, I think it's interesting from you, AJ, to hear you talk about codependency because you are genuinely care, have experience, and don't invalidate certain types of people with subtle thought patterns. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad it's helpful. Hey there, Joe. You made it to no contact. Fantastic. Way to go. Next step, baby step, holding the no contact. That's great. I'm happy for you. Peterson, why is it so hard for codependents to walk away in the early stages of a romantic relationship, even though we know something is not right? I'm afraid I am a perfect example. I keep asking myself, why didn't I? Because it's, so you know something in your head, right? Intellectually you have some awareness. But what you're not maybe as aware of is those cycles, that are in the unconscious or the subconscious that go back to childhood, what codependency really is. And people keep wanting to recapture that wonderful feeling again or get back to who you thought that person was when you fell in love with them again. So it's patterns, and people need to get into therapy to unlearn those patterns, identify them, and reparent that wounded inner child. And Joe, 8 days. Oh, fantastic. That's great, Joe. And just hang on to it. 1 day at a time, 1 hour at a time, whatever it takes. And Lottie, also you convert the science of codependent into real life rather than a less knowledgeable person who just quotes from other people because you think and really understand. Oh, well, you're very welcome. Thank you for that. I mean, yeah, I'm not about parroting other people, but lots of other people about parroting me sometimes and other people. But, you know. So, Rav is congratulating Joe on joining the No Contact Club. Yeah, that's a good, yeah, we should create a No Contact Club. And then none of us have to talk to each other. No, I'm kidding. People that have gone no contact from a cluster B. Maria, I think the cycle of abandoning self and putting others before ourselves keeps us stuck in romantic relationships that may not be good for us. Yeah, and I mean this with all respect, but that's codependency 101. That's exactly what happens. Yes. And you said thinking that being selfless and serving others makes us good. I know. And it doesn't, because you're not bad in the first place, but that's how a lot of codependents feel about themselves. Or maybe what they learned about themselves, not that you are bad, but that a parent left you feeling that way as a child. And what else was I going to say on that? Yeah, so I have actually had people over the years on the channel. And I have a video up, and I don't know, good luck finding it. I don't know when I did it. I can't remember the title. I think it's called, like, Codependency is Not Altruism or something like that. So, again, you can always search and put my name behind it if you're interested in any video I mentioned. But yeah, somebody left a comment. It's 2, 3, 4, something like that years ago. And they were like, the whole thing was all about how altruistic they were because they were codependent. And the love, the unconditional love. This is an illusion in codependency. It's not altruistic. It's not unconditional. It's not even a healthy love. Okay? So, to be really blunt about it, this is what people with codependency need to get into their own healing and recovery journeys. So, yeah, thinking that, like Maria said, being selfless, codependency isn't selfless. Let's just start right there. It's not. It blah, 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 blah. It starts in childhood, and young children start this pursuit pattern of codependency because they need to get their needs met. It's never selfless. It's not selfish necessarily, and it's not narcissistic, but it's not selfless at all. But the overgiving, again, people want back, So why do you think people with codependency are trying to fix and rescue the borderline? Because they want them to get normal so they can get what they need in the bloody situationship. I'm not putting it that way. I'm not aiming that at you, Maria. I'm just saying. Peterson, I wish I could go no contact. Well, when you wish it, you could. You just have to choose it. Oh, wait a minute. I should have read the rest first. You never know. I wish I could go no contact, but yes, right, you have the child. Yes. This is a struggle. If we didn't have a child, I'd delete her number and never talk to her again. She had me thinking I was crazy. Yeah, that's really hard when you have a child because it has to be, like, it should be as low a contact as is possible, right? But yeah, you're right. You can't do the full no contact. And that does complicate things for people. So then you have to work at, like, emotional detachment and whatever, she might still say to you or whatever hassle might still be there or however we could put that, in one ear and out the other with the goal of just, whatever you have to talk about, to do with the child, or when you're exchanging custody, it's like you got to practice the observe and don't absorb, but emotional detachment, right? It's like, who's this person again? Don't even hear what they're going on about unless it's about your child and it's important information. And that takes practice, but that too can be accomplished. And Alicia, my worth and value were based on how many needs I could hide. Yeah, well, and you know who taught you that, right? Parents. Especially when they're cluster B. They don't know, like, our needs and our wants and everything just, like, stress them out, and or if they're narcissistic, or for some people with BPD, even as parents untreated, they don't have any tolerance for that because they're busy with all about them stuff in the ways that occurs for people with BPD and the ways that occurs for people with NPD. So, there's that poem, right? I mean, children learn what they live, and it long poem. But yeah, you definitely, codependency is something that comes about because a parent isn't meeting a child's needs in certain ways, or not enough. And then there's the pursuit. It starts with the pursuit to get needs met. So definitely, to what you just said, Alicia, my worth and value were based on how many needs I could hide. Exactly. So because people realize that if you need kids, and need to be seen and heard, but you got to hide instead because you don't want the wrath or whatever the parent's going to act like or act out. And I can certainly relate to that, although I would go for the negative attention over no attention, but then I got beat up a lot, so it wasn't a really good thing to do. But yes, we tend to be hiding ourselves, and this is where there's a false self component, not like in BPD or NPD, which are not the same, by the way, the false self in either of those two. But it's sort of like that hiding. So you're kind of putting forward a false self because you're trying to hide and protect the self as much as trying to tuck that away. And you're trying to put out that false self. It says to, the narcissistic or borderline parent, or just a parent who's not emotionally available, eat this, devour this false self, but don't get my real self. So they're, and this is not conscious in people's minds, and people do it in different ways. And Lottie said, I think there is sometimes a slight with other people, not you, AJ, but codependence is seen as not serious enough. Yeah, either that or it's overblown and dramatized and called things it's not by some other people. But to really respect the highly complex nature of codependency is confusing. Well, yeah, and that's why I say there's Codependence Anonymous is not going to help you at all. Because what we know codependency is, how deep it goes, how formidable it is, that it comes from adverse childhood experience. We know so much more about it today. And the idea that you would just go, I know this sounds trite, right? But when people are dysfunctional, like codependency is a dysfunction. And if you're dysfunctional and you go to a group of people that are dysfunctional, similarly or maybe somewhat differently, at the end of the day, it's not better than therapy. It doesn't need to be an adjunct to therapy, because no matter how well-intentioned these sloganed up the yin-yang individuals are in these programs, and once in a while you could get hit and miss with a healthier person, but then usually when people are really healthier, how long do they hang around as sponsors? Or is there ever the 13th step to some people in Codependence Anonymous that's where you go away because you're healthier? Well, I don't think that is a dysfunctional process with too many people with the same dysfunction that really, at the end of the day, makes for people getting healthier, especially when you consider how formidable and what we now know so much more about not only addiction and why people get into drugs or alcohol or other kinds of addictions, but also about codependency. And Maria, yeah, woohoo, no contact club. Let's start it, laugh out loud. Peterson, I wish I could go no contact, but we have a child together. No, I think did I miss something? Wait a minute. I think I read that, yeah. Okay, so I must have missed that up there. I don't know, got confused. Yeah, Maria, that's true. There's always this unspoken, and sometimes not consciously realized, expectation in the overgiving, for sure. Because it starts with kids trying to get from parents what they need, what's not there. So absolutely. And Lottie, it's difficult for the individual to separate sometimes really loving and caring and codependency. Well, yeah, because really loving and caring isn't healthy from people with codependency. It's better, but it's not to the level of healthy that people that aren't codependent or work through that are. And it's in the middle of healthier and wherever people with BPD are stuck, especially if they're untreated. And Peterson, there's a part of me that wishes I could closure, but I've come to accept that it'll never happen. No remorse. Well, you can still get your own closure. I don't know if you've been in therapy for codependency or this relationship and recovery or not, but you can find your own closure. And even when you have to keep seeing the person, like I said, it's about doing some healing and recovery work, and it's about learning how to emotionally detach. So you'll see the person maybe when you're, dealing with your child in custody back and forth or whatever the arrangement is, but you just don't have to hear the rest of it. Like, you can just separate yourself. But that's not closure in and of itself. But closure is an inside job, especially after a cluster B relationship breakup. And people think, whether it's BPD or NPD, but people think like they have no closure to give you. But you can find closure. I mean, I went no contact from my narcissistic dysfunctional family of origin, and I found my own closure. I didn't need their help. There was nothing coming from them. Getting away from them was the first best thing. And then, I worked through my own process of healing, recovery, different things and stuff, and codependency, and I found my own closure. Because in the understanding and the growth process of healing and recovery processes, then we understand better, and we grieve, and we go through the process, and we let it go. And that's what everybody deserves, Scuba Bro, my dad was BPD. It was awful. I was always ready for him to just lose it over or have a nice day only to set us up and just rain on a parade. Not a surprise I dated BPD women for years. Well, exactly, because, you would get codependency with a BPD parent, and then, So when somebody's had a borderline or narcissistic parent, I'm not saying every single person, but more than likely going to end up with a cluster B or a narcissist in an adult relationship. It's sad but it just, there's a correlation factor there. Natalie, I've been no contact from my mom for 6 days. Oh, wow. Good for you. She had my dad text me today to see if I would react. I just texted him what I usually say. I really feel okay about it. That isn't the cause of my anxiety at the moment. No. I think I understand what you're saying there. But, that's really positive. That's what, you determined that you needed to do that. And whether that's for now or, for always, good for you. As people need to do what they need to do. Once they realize what that is and what that means and what they need to do. Wasn't that a crazy sentence? I have some that come along. Oh, there's no way I'm going to see that from here. Just no way. I still haven't found my other glasses yet. These ones are painful. Just saying. Because they're a little bit, old. So, just to hit that freaking button. Yeah. Buttons are little. They're too little. So, there's really good news on this, but the not good news part that people have to get through is you got to make a lot of difficult choices, and you got to really kind of, and when I say have faith, I don't mean necessarily religious. It depends on what you think. Jake, leave it, buddy. But you have to, you'll benefit from, it's difficult choices people have to make, right? And to get into healing recovery from codependency, not that when clients first come to me, they got this all done or anything, part of the work, but this focus on these people that just keeps, negating self. People need to learn how to stop it, And I don't need them now. And I think it's true that, people need to learn how to stop it. I'm not just saying people will benefit from stopping it. It's really hard to just stop it. Because maybe some learning about more about that. We have a lot of clients that come in all different situations that they're not like at the point of full no contact yet, but they come for help and to work on that and strategize it and process it and talk about it and work out their feelings around it. So not like you have to be, like I think some people with codependency have this idea like they have to get the relationship over and fix this and fix that first and then go to therapy. No. It's like as soon as you know what's going on, in a relationship or if you're out of the relationship, good time to get into therapy for the codependency recovery and the knowing yourself better, etc., and the healing from the relationship. Hey there, Wills. I'm doing okay. How are you doing? I'm just so glad I don't have to work tomorrow. Oh, there might be a video come along or something, but 10 hours of client work is I'm usually pretty good. I was, but I was kind of really tired toward the end tonight. Up here, But I recovered real quick to get here, see, because I'm just making a boatload of sense. Any minute I could not make sense because I'm tired. But anyway, Alicia, my BPD mother would start threatening to move for not being, quote, appreciated, unquote, which means jumping to meet her need in time. Oh, yeah. Then she would list her attributes of, quote, goodness, unquote, exhausting and unnecessary. Yeah, I'm sure they weren't very accurate either, just saying. I just can't imagine, if anybody from my family of origin was, well, they live like 40 minutes down the highway, that's far enough away. But if they were close or like whatever, and they were like threatening to move, I'd be like, I couldn't really help right now, but generally I'd be like, can I help you? But not really help you. But is there anything I can do to speed that up? Congratulations. Good idea. Bye. Have a good one. And Alicia said, plus she didn't know that moving away was, a gift. Exactly. They never get that part, do they? Lottie, this might sound depressing, sorry, but I've been looking at the picture of people over the last few centuries. Yeah, you're quite the historian. I've already picked that up about you. And the pain in women's faces, especially from hospital and asylum, I can relate to. Well, I'm just sorry if you're a little depressed, like if you're in a hurting place, and you can relate to that, or maybe you're talking about from past experience, you could relate to that. But I think people that have been through a lot of pain, or people that might be in pain, can really. I hear you, what you're looking at. You see the pain in the faces, etc. But people can sometimes see pain on a blank wall because. And I'm not saying that's your case, Lottie. I'm just saying people could look at a blank wall and think it's mirroring back to them pain. You know what I'm saying? Because when people are really hurting. Wheels, I'm doing it. I got to work tomorrow. Then I get 2 days off. Cool. You're doing well. That's great. And Alicia, she doesn't reach out to me anymore because my well ran dry. Yeah, well, that's a good thing. I mean, that's painful when that happens. But it's good when you know that the well is dry. Yeah, I like that analogy because it's like, don't come looking for water over here because you're going to die of thirst, Sort of reminds me of a country song, standing knee deep in a river, dying of thirst. That's what cluster bees are like, because whatever. But I have another video that's either going to go up after this or tomorrow. And I tried something and I don't know if it'll work. But maybe it'll be entertaining anyway. So we'll see. Natalie, quote, moving away was a gift, unquote. That's right on, yeah. Yeah, it's like small victories. And the whole situationship as well. It's a crisis at first, right? It's horrible. And people got to find their way out of it. Like to get no contact and go on, with healing and recovery, etc. I don't want to sound like a broken record. But what was I going to say about that? I was going to say something about, see, there's the tiredness. Oh, yes, that you will find with the crisis comes equally the opportunity, the growth opportunity, the healing opportunity, the opportunity to know yourself better than you ever have in your life and go forward in an amazing way. So, it's kind of like that old adage of, when one door closes, like another door or a window opens, but just realizing that there is a silver lining in the otherwise dark cloud or what people might be in different stages of going through right now. or really stuck in the middle of. And I probably didn't always think this way, but I learned through in my own healing recovery journey and then just apply it to life now that even if something is challenging at a certain point in time, and we're all going to get different kinds of challenges through life is not smooth sailing, maybe sometimes, right? But if you're out in a sailboat on the water, smooth sailing, then all of a sudden some waves. But the thing is, the other part of this healing and recovery after these relationships and from codependency, etc., is you become much more flexible. You have better boundaries. You learn how to assert yourself, at least when I work with clients. Learn how to assert yourself and, identify, implement, and I don't like the word enforce, but I can't think of anything else right now. But, boundaries, which, but flexibility to flow with challenges. And what I know about challenges in my life right now, which is just the obvious one, otherwise everything's great, is just the radical acceptance and flowing and being flexible and being positive and having an attitude of gratitude. All these things are so helpful, and it might just sound namby-pamby, but it's really true. So the more adversity that we faced and the more that we've healed, the more that we can be empowered through other challenges going forward in life. I think is what I'm trying to say. And just in general. And Alicia said, seeing what I could disengage from with my parents proved I could recover and heal from BPD-X relationship. Yeah, cool. That's fantastic. And Wheels, Psycho already told me she expects me to lose this job, and I should plan as if I'll have a job. I shouldn't plan as if you'll have a job. I guess she's mad I don't want to be on benefits and not be able to afford to leave. Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm sure that's the base motivation for her trying to, for her sharing such negativity, right? And Julie, hi AJ, can BPD be confused with PTSD, or do they overlap sometimes? I don't think any of this is really settled, and also there's an older book that was written in the 90s or before, I think, and it's about borderline personality and PTSD. And the only thing I can't remember now is the title, and also whether or not they were co-occurring or, what the book's premise was. Been a long time. But I think that, so definitely BPD can coexist with PTSD. Can they be confused? Well, nowadays I would say anything can be confused because I don't know who's doing all the confusing, but it seems like the American Psychiatric Association and psychiatrists in general, I'm not saying maybe other people in the profession, but psychiatrists are doing a slam-up job of confusing everything. So yeah, anything can be confused for anything these days. But there can be, like I said, people with BPD can have PTSD. So there's that coexistence or co-occurring, or however they would put that. And do they overlap somewhat? Yes and no. So yes, they can overlap somewhat, but not. PTSD is not going to look like untreated BPD, if that makes any sense. Wheels, I've already planned in case anything does fall through, but she just got to throw her tantrums and try to get me to fail because, narcs. Yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell, isn't it? Unfortunately. Pun intended, I guess, Well, yeah, because, you're a major source of supply, so I'm sure without realizing what that means, that's what she's already starting to worry about. That's what she's already concerned with, because you probably haven't been the richest source of supply for quite a while now. But yeah, the idea of you getting out of there, then what's she going to do, if you know what I mean? And that's her problem. But that's exactly why she's trying to, be all negative and, kind of give you the idea that you can't do it, it won't work out, because it's all about her. And they have to be negative anyways. Their lens is totally negative just with untreated, like people with untreated BPD. I can't say totally, but their lens of perception and misperception and cognitive distortions and whatever else is largely negative because they're not happy, because they don't know emotional safety, because they have no self. So what's to be happy about, at that point? Not much is the answer, if anything. And Northblend, hey there, what do you think of the book Stop Caretaking the Borderline or Narcissist? That was the book I read that showed me what was going on when I was still with my BPDX. Yeah, well, I know I've read it, but I've read so many recently, and I haven't read that for a while. But I think it's a pretty good book. I mean, as far as I could go, because I can't remember it from. I'm reading too much. So, I mean, not always, but I think it's a pretty good book. That's what I remember it as, anyways. What little I remember about it. And again, like books, like videos, very helpful, right? But they don't take the place of the actual journey through. And I'm not saying this to you, Northblend, I'm just saying in general. They don't take the place of, therapy and healing and recovery journeys, but they can certainly help and educate people. Or they can do the opposite. Some books, some videos, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But, because there are some books out there that I've had a lot of clients tell me, it's like, I wish I never bought this freaking thing. But not that one. I think that one's in good stead. And as are others, and then it depends. Some people get more out of one book than others, and so, and those books are helpful, but they're a long way from the clinical understanding of reality, which of course people don't need anyway, but people are chasing, right? That more and more and more knowledge, when really all you need to know is, like, if you read that book Northblend mentioned, there's a few other good books out there, all you really need to know is what's happening. And right there is a good place where people could start to make different choices instead of just pursuing more and more about why are they doing this? What's up with that? Just say it. Lottie, I noticed from the older pictures from maybe 130 years ago, one thing that hurts my soul is how complacent expression the doctors sometimes look in the photos. I feel they weren't planning to help. Well, 130 years ago, they didn't have very many ways to help with much. So there was a lot of times when people would, have a certain ailment or come down with something or a certain injury or complicated trauma to the body, and the doctors couldn't do anything about it. So that's probably why they look like that in the pictures. You need to look at some happy pictures, Lottie. Just saying, balance it out. Northblend, I had so many epiphanies when I read it. Well, that's cool. Like it was written for you. Yeah, well, there's similarities in these situations, right? And you said, and you're right, therapy and no contact was the way out for me. Yeah, well, and like reading a book is a good thing too, right? And watching videos, yeah, information. But I think some people out there are trying to do the whole recovery journey through videos and or books, and or CODA. It doesn't work. Lottie, some doctors look massively caring. I don't understand why their expressions vary so much. Well, I really don't know what to tell you, because I'm not looking at the 130-year-old pictures or whatever you're looking at, because I'm like about the here and now, and people's here and now going forward. And sometimes in the process of healing recovery, you got to dip a little into the past, but it's not to stick there for long. It's just to garner the information and do the work necessary to come back to the now and moving forward. Natalie, laugh out loud, quote, in a nutshell, unquote. Your humor is always appreciated. Well, it just happens, Natalie. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't even think of it. But if that helps, and that's great. I kind of realize things sometimes after I say it, like if it's punny or has a double entendre to it or something, and I'm like, oh yeah. And sometimes it doesn't work out the best for me personally in general, and whatever. But that's okay. Wheels, yeah, AJ, she gets a internal eye roll at best most of the time, and has for a while. She definitely seems to want to delay any further independence. I don't think she expected me to make it this far. Well, So she, in her, messed up nutshell grandiosity, underestimated you. Well, shame on her. ouch. My finger goes into the fan. It's not on right now, but it's there in case. It's turned the heat up a little. I'm like, I couldn't eat a fan any second. There's a nice breeze coming in the window right now, so it's nice and chilly in here. That's why I have a hoodie on. It's been like this all day. Alicia, that book helped me see what I was actually doing versus what I thought I was doing. Oh, cool. That's why I thought it was helpful. Pointed me to my misplaced motivation. Oh, excellent. And Natalie, you have such a natural humor, you might not always realize it. Yeah, well, thank you for that. And sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. Like, in my life, I do more than on live streams, but like I think I said in the live stream, I don't know, was it last night, night before, I think? I don't remember. That, like, I was Zooming with a friend, and yeah, right when she was, I don't know, drinking tea or something, and she took a drink, and I don't know, I'm working on something funny, and I kind of get to the punchline or the funny part. I don't mean to do it on purpose. No, sometimes, but not usually. And then, so right when she was, and then she spit it all out. Because I guess personally I find that hilarious. So I don't know. But I don't think I really orchestrated half as much as it just happens, if you know what I'm saying. I don't really know one way or the other. I find it equally as entertaining. I don't try to make this happen to people on purpose, but equally fascinating, especially when you're in the same space as somebody, and they've just taken a drink of something, and they're trying so hard not to spit it out, right? And some people actually do somehow swallow it while they're laughing and trying. But yeah, anyway, it's just funny. Can be messy. That can be called messy humor. Lottie, I feel like if I understand the past, maybe some of the same things are happening now because of the human condition. Yeah, maybe, but I would just say balance that with here now, you know. But yeah, I mean, some people are history buffs. Some people like to look back at things for all kinds of different reasons. And Lord knows right now in the world that we can see that what wasn't heeded from history is here repeating itself and then some. And I'm just saying in general, not referring to any specific thing. Hey there, Nancy. Ghosting is the worst, but happy to say I've learned not to take it personally after listening to your teaching. Well, I'm really glad to hear that, Nancy, because it's especially hard for you and moms like you, right? Because when you get ghosted, it's not the same thing as, I mean, it's similar, but no, it's not the same thing. And maybe people that are in chosen relationships wouldn't understand that, but I think you know what I mean. Northland, I had to listen to it on audiobook at work the only time I was ever away from her. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. I purchased a couple books recently that I really needed to. No, I tried to purchase a couple and found out I purchased one in 2011. I'm like, what the hell? I have too many books. I can't keep track. I'm like, 2011? Really? And I didn't read it. So anyway, yeah, but when I went to purchase these two books, so I ended up with the audiobook of the other one that I already have on Kindle. And it was like, I just found I was having a moment. I was tired. I didn't push Kindle when I was there. So I thought, oh, it's only an audiobook? Get out of here, really. Why would that be? I don't mind audiobooks, but I fall asleep in the middle of them a lot. So, unless they're really like bad narrators. So I went and got the two Audible books and the audiobooks, and then I'm like, so then I go over, I'm like, they must have a book. And then I'm like, yeah, push on Kindle, you goof. And so, and then I realized like I'd already bought one, so whatever. But they're about something entirely different. Somewhere I got to go deeper and delve. Not that I need to read a book to do it, but it never hurts to just refresh yourself on something before you start talking about it. Something that some people out there don't ever think of. Because they think a Google search is, I mean, that's it right there, right? Like as if, if I just Google search and that was the information in my videos, like you can Google search too, right? Just saying. Wheels, this was one of those times where I'm glad she thinks I'm incompetent. Well, yeah, it can work for you, definitely. If she didn't underestimate me so much, I wouldn't be here. Yeah, exactly. Natalie, oh yes, she spit the tea out. I was on that stream, yeah. And it's not like it's a one-time thing. Like, I mean, but like, hey, I really don't think, like, I don't do it on purpose, but it happens a lot. So I don't know, maybe people are just having tea or something a lot, and then I'm like being goofy, and the next thing you know, it's so funny to watch that though. Seriously, it is. It happened to me a few times too, but like, and when I mentioned before my favorite, British comedian on YouTube, when I go watch her, I don't want to be eating even because you could like laugh and choke, and I don't want to like have anything to drink because if you drink anything while you're watching her, like I tried once and I ended up spitting it out. It doesn't work. And Wheels, Talati. I like history too, but nothing is new under the sun. Well, I guess some people pioneer new things out there. I don't know, science or physics or something. But I don't know. Yeah, there isn't a lot new under the sun. I wonder if there's a place where there's a bunch of new stuff, but it just isn't in, under the sun. No, I'm just being silly now. No, Lottie said about history, it's bittersweet. Well, there's bittersweet everywhere. Like right now. Right in the here and now in the world and the past. And like there's always bittersweet. I just, I remember in my recovery from BPD when I was particularly annoyed in group because these groups were like, the intake was when somebody completed the group, then there was a space and they would bring a new person into the group. It was always changing. Except for the first time I went through the group, we had 7 months where nobody changed. It was great for continuity and the conflicts and the transference and the projection going on between all of us. It really helped us get more work done. But they would bring in new people and when somebody would finish. And the thing was, that was always changing the dynamic. And I remember the difficulty I had initially with that was, like, you're supposed to, like when I first started in the group, somebody was leaving that following Friday. Like I started on a Monday and they were leaving on Friday. And the idea was you're supposed to say hello and get to know people and then say goodbye. And I remember in some group just saying, I'm sick and tired of this. Like, why would I want to say hello to somebody who's just going away and I got to say goodbye? Well, I would learn a whole lot about that. So, and the point being that lots of things are bittersweet. Some things are time limited. Sometimes we cross each other's path for a reason, but it doesn't make for a lasting friendship or whatever. And the other thing is that I think we have to be pretty mindful about the here and now. And sure, people can be interested in all kinds of other things, but it's important not to live in the past. And so if you're still in a relationship with somebody with BPD or NPD, and they were just like, yelling and screaming, well, if they've stopped now, then you need to relax and you need some recovery time from that episode. But you need also not to be staying in it when it's not happening. Just one of those other things. But anyway, I just think there's so much about codependency that, and I haven't even cracked a book on the topic lately. I learned so much from the client work, right? And 30 years of it, and I'm still learning a lot. And then I just think about things differently. Or a client will explain part of their experience in a way I haven't heard it explained before. And I'm like, wow, yeah. And then looking at the patterns. And so I'm just saying whatever I'm blubbering on about right now is this what I observe and what I'm putting together in my head, finding different ways to articulate, because I haven't even cracked open a book on the subject or anything lately. Not that I haven't, and not that I won't again. But, oh, that's interesting, Wheels. Yeah, the narrators of those, there's some that are great and some that are not so great. Oh, by the way, I have to do a podcast episode. I haven't had any time. Maybe tomorrow I'll have time, because I have, like, finally, I got a voiceover for it, so I don't have to introduce myself because it doesn't work. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a change. So if you haven't followed that podcast yet, you might want to. There's going to be some unique content over there, not going to be over here. I shouldn't say unique. Exclusive to the podcast. Yeah, I didn't mean unique. Why was I using that word? Oh, I have some unique content, but whatever. I don't mean everything's unique. Because like Wheel said, there's nothing new under the sun. But perspective and breaking out a narrative and not getting all these, different things that people mess up all over the internet, not putting the wrong equations together. Yeah. So getting out of narratives, and there's different perspectives, and that's what I continue to focus on. Sometimes I'm saying a lot of this, sometimes I'm not saying the same thing, sometimes I am, but I try to go at facets of things from all different perspectives because, well, it's just part of my creativity maybe, but also because people will hear things. You can hear something in a video and then maybe it's like, oh yeah, or I knew that, but that makes sense, or maybe it's new and it helps, or maybe a person will listen to a certain video and kind of hear something and be like, okay, whatever, I don't know. And then next time they might listen to a video of mine and it's a different perspective and it could be similar. And all of a sudden, the light bulb goes off. And when the light bulb goes off, I'm not saying that's all my credit. No, because people bring where they're at, what they're thinking about, what they're struggling with to videos. And so yeah, when they're helpful and they resonate or they bring aha moments or light bulb moments, it's like I played just a little bit of a role maybe, but whatever I tweaked for somebody, that's the important thing, what they're doing on their own with those moments. It's interesting. Now we're going to talk about history. Okay. I'm not. You can. Alicia said, codependency feels like a weakness and weariness. So I tune into its grip by noticing that particular feeling. Had to look for experiences of strength throughout the day. Well, it's interesting. Codependency as weakness. Well, in a way. But, I mean, yeah. I don't know. Anyways, you said it, not me, so I'm going to leave it at that. That's good. I mean, it makes sense what you said. And then you said, I have a habit of believing in the fawning more than other experiences. Like I recognize myself as weak, which isn't true. It's subtle. Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to try to challenge the idea of its weakness, but it is vulnerability, and it is, woundedness, and so it's in that sense maybe, but and a lot of people, the inner critic in a lot of people with codependency can just be on fire about when people have fawning responses. It's just like for some reason it angers the wounded inner child, or it angers the inner critic, but everybody has their own patterns, which need to be mindfully, radically accepted because it's a gateway to change. Jake, what are you doing now, dude? Too bad he's not on camera. He's such a goof, in a good way. Well, that's interesting. Lottie said, I think time to get out of times when you're kind of gut punched emotionally is fascinating. Yeah, as long as it's being processed, dealt with, and, because otherwise you just get into something else as a distraction and leave it alone. But I'm just saying that generally because I don't know specifically if that would apply to you at all or not. Alicia, it feels weak, just an experience and beliefs. That's interesting. Yeah, really interesting the way you're putting that. And Wheels, years, it's very interesting. It's called Heaven and Hell. Oh, what you're listening to, yes. Oh. Yeah, I might love to. Oh, I know that guy. I've got a few of his already. Yeah. Recognize the last name. He's good. And I was going to say, I may already have it. I don't know, because I tend not to remember those things, as Amazon reminds me. So I can't tell you how many times I've gone to purchase some, book. And it's like, but you purchased this in whatever, but not usually all the way back to 2011. But, the key thing I find about information in this area, but like other areas too, it's really important to not just look at the newest thing out. Like often it can bring something new to understanding in a conversation and people's growth. Yeah. But there's some older things like classic literature and novels that just never fade over time with generation after generation partaking of them. I believe there's older things in psychology and sociology and other disciplines that really still matter too. So, but yeah, I can't. Oh, and there's another book I have to look at right now too. I just can't commit to one more because I can't tell you how many of I'm because I don't read. Like I don't need to read a whole book. I'll just put it that way. I get in, I get the meat, I get out. And the other thing is I have so many of them on the go at once because the whole idea is not only the information from this book on that topic or this book on that topic, somewhat related, or whatever, but it's to synthesize it, which I can't say that word too well right now. But yeah, so I want to get in there and get the meat out, and then, it's an Aspie brain type thing that is really fantastic. That just works like that. So I'm not saying it's special or above everybody else, but it does the trick. So, yeah. So I think, not sure what else I'm going to have to say at the moment, but in general, with codependency, and by the way, if you haven't checked my community tab lately, do that once in a while, because like I post videos that older ones I've long since forgotten about and things like that, where people comment and I go back and look and to try to answer some comments when I can on because older videos now could be 2 or 3 years or they could be 7 or 12, but I'm just saying. And so then sometimes when I find one that seems to have been, whether well watched or not, if it just seems timely to something I was talking about recently. So I stick those on the community tab. Might be a way that you can find videos you might not otherwise find. And then right now on the community tab, what I really wanted to point out was there's a poll about, besides codependency and BPD, and there's 4 choices there. What would you like me to talk more about? And I can't remember what the choices are. I remember one is finding the self, which I meant to word differently, but finding the self was in the lead last time I looked. And I think it was 91 votes, and come on guys, we got to gather 250 to 300 before I'm going to start doing it. Come on. This channel's growing and people are so passive. Got to get involved. Support the channel and all that nonsense, and thumb up everything for the algorithm and blah 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 blah, like that, right? I'm just not into saying that stuff much. Yeah, well, I recognize his name, but nothing comes to mind. But I know I've read a couple of his books, at least. And I know he's pretty prolific, and I think it was pretty, great, but I can't remember squat about it right now. Because I know where else my mind is besides being here right now. What's rolling around in my head? Ideas, topics, things that I'm, because that's the way I work. It's like I'm doing whatever I'm doing, and I'm focused pretty much here. And then in the background, it's like, it's just the way that work gets done, that it comes to fruition. And it sort of just spins in there. And then when it comes to that point of whoa, got to write that down, then I get on it, and stuff like that there. It probably makes no sense. It's great you're working, and I know you're excited about it at Wheels, but excited about it, but now you're having boring work shifts already. Okay. That's part of the deal, isn't it? That's one thing I like about my work. It's not boring. Because I can't ever find a person, maybe the odd one over 30 years, but I don't find people boring, especially in the process of whatever they're talking about that they need to talk about. And, I work with people and other things, and I have in the past too. But this is kind of the focus, because it's been the focus of the channel, but I'm not limited to just these subjects. But the point is, yeah, just being present with someone witnessing their pain and helping, etc., but often listening and then saying things that hopefully will be helpful, and that kind of thing. Yeah, that's one thing I'm really grateful for, because I never have a quote. I don't have a work shift because I set my own schedule, but I don't have like a boring day. Some are a little more exhausting than others, and it depends how many clients I have on them. But like, yeah. So anyway, Wheels, just what you said there. I'm sorry if you're having some boring work shifts, but you're handling them, and I just really got a gratitude moment of like, hey, I don't find my work boring at all. It's great, you know. Not that I thought I did. It's just, you see, sometimes we don't even think about things enough, right? And then we can think about it, realize it, and go, yeah, and then find more gratitude. Because I really like what I do, and the different ways that people learn and the different things that people are processing, and the difference between individual to individual. Even, like, you know, I have a lot of clients recently been saying to me, like, it's the first session and they're talking about what they're talking about, and maybe they are in a relationship still with someone with BPD, or could be somebody with BPD, or could be whatever. But they're like, so they start describing whatever it is for them, you know, the situation and what they want to work on or what they're not sure about. And so many people will stop in the middle and go, oh, well, but I know you've heard it all. And I'm like, no, but I haven't heard what you're talking about. You know what I mean? So, now, the one thing I do know about myself is that I picked the right line of work to be in. I truly love my job. Well, that's cool, because that's really important for everybody, whatever that line of work is, you know. So I find that, well, I'm glad I mean, I couldn't imagine doing what you do, but then I'm not you, right? And by the way, I don't mean anything like about what you do is, no, I mean, what anybody does is great, you know, what they do. Because, you know, it's funny, because I had this conversation with a friend the other day, and part of the conversation, we weren't talking about it like the whole time, but about, I think my friend had an experience, yeah, I'm recalling part of it now. I just had an experience with somebody that was looking down on them for some reason. And like, because they don't obviously know my friend, if they're going to be doing that. And then I just gave an example of something back, and I said, you know, maybe a lot of people look down at, I don't know, I've never used like Uber, but they might look down at an Uber driver or a cab driver, right? For some reason. I mean, some people do that. I don't. But like, I've had some of the most fascinating cab rides when I've been going further from, you know, one place to like further away, longer cab rides, where like I've met people that have PhDs and things, but right now they're either burnt out from what they were doing, or they're just driving the cab extra for some extra cash. And like, but people I know, I used to know, I don't want to know them anymore. People that would be like, you know, thinking, well, cab driver's a cab driver because he can't do anything else. And even if that's, what's wrong with being a cab driver? What's wrong with being a janitor? What I believe is whatever people do is, like Natalie said, loving what they do and doing what you do well. I mean, that's what's most important, right? So it doesn't matter if it's like, I think like there's all these sort of like social strata kind of like ridiculous things, right? I don't care where somebody is in the economic thing. I have friends that are really wealthy, and I'm not wealthy, but I don't care that they're wealthy. I'm not angling for something, you know? And I think too, like, so yeah, if you're a professional at something, so what's that mean compared to people? I mean, I think Natalie's professional at what she does, and like, you know what I mean? So anyway, it just kind of reminded me of a conversation with a friend the other day. And what she does is, again, you know, I don't think anything anybody does in a job that, you know, is hard work and an honest job is worth snubbing your nose at. You know what I'm saying? But somebody did that to my friend recently. It was really annoying to hear about. I was, you know, I know the person that did it too, so, but I don't talk to them anymore, so there you go. Because they're like that. Natalie, totally cool. I know what you mean. I definitely didn't take it in a bad way. Well, yeah, and I mean, it just intersected with my associative mind of what I was talking to a friend about the other day. I probably wouldn't have gone there at all, but like, I think it's great you love your job. It's and that you picked what you like. That's cool. I mean, that's always a win-win, right? Hey there, Joe. Wow, someone is really on the quote. Oh, they're doing the dislike duty again, are they? Yeah, on the stream. And you said, oh, well, keep at it, AJ. Your help outweighs their hurt. Probably one person on several. It is one person on several counts. And let me just look at something right now. Let's see if they're still live streaming. Because it might be more than one person, right? But let's see if who I really think it is still. Nope, they're not. So there you go. It's likely them. Because they're not live streaming on their other channel. You can start guessing. I don't care if they hear me over here. Because they accuse me of doing this to them. I never have. Never would. But funny, it keeps happening to me. Right? So, I don't care. People got to do what they got to do, and they're pathetic human beings. Right? Period. Kind of like it's that simple. And the other thing I would just ask people, no problem, Joe, but like, let's not give it airtime. Let's not talk about it. Somebody wrote a comment on one of my other videos where the same dude did the same thing. And they're like, oh, I can tell the truth hurts because of the dislike. It's like, why even mention them? And it's not about the truth hurts. It's about somebody out there who called me their nemesis on YouTube because they say in dog whistles to me that I'm jealous of them. Abject projection. I'm not jealous of anybody. I don't care. I do my best. I'm in my lane. I don't have those issues. Just saying. But I don't think we should give it airtime, really. And all the other nonsense somewhere on the channel still, or more will come. Who cares? I don't. Lottie, I remember when I was a child, I met a lot that had jobs like doormen or drivers, and they were happy and kind and took the time to talk to me. Yeah, it's cool, and you'll always remember them. Well, I just think whatever people do, like it's important to be nice. It's important to be kind, and it's important to have compassion for people. So, and I'll just say why anybody on this platform thinks that I'm so. Well, they're projecting. They think I'm what they're like, and I'm not. I'm kind, I'm caring, I'm compassionate, I'm me, period. And I don't do that kind of stuff. So anyway, they're convinced I do, well, they do. So there you go. Makes all kinds of sense, right? I think it's funny, actually. Because one way or the other, they just can't leave me alone. So what's that about, eh? Well, it's not about me. Not my problem. Joe, yeah, no need to bring it up. They do what they want. Well, and it is. I know who it is. Not a mystery. They know who they are, too. So I should just say, having fun, dude? Whatever amuses your small mind, please continue. So, I shouldn't have done that either, but, hey. It's just true. And they know who they are, and they should know I bloody know who they are. But then there's something about them that they're probably not aware of, so I won't go any deeper. Because we wouldn't want to do that. Ew. Just a knee thing. Excuse me. No, that's good, yeah. So, you're really, what's the word I'm looking for? Your determination is fantastic, Wheels, and so you got the job you got right now, but you want to study some more and get a different job that interests you more. That's great. That's the way to do it. And I can remember it's different, right? And I shouldn't, but like way back when I was in university, and yeah, like some of the part-time jobs I had, or things I did in the summer. It was like I didn't have a job. I was a student, but they were interesting. I ended up managing, like on certain shifts, fast food place, and also not the same time, different jobs, different times, a pizza place, and stuff like that. But I used to love that kind of work because, well, back then I was in good shape. I was athletic, have hand-eye coordination, so I'd make everything a challenge. Because obviously doing the same stuff over and over was a little bit boring. But, yeah, I used to just, My favorite thing to do when I was younger, and I worked at Burger King in the summer and part time for a couple of years when I was going to school, was I used to like to do the specialty station all by myself in a rush, because it's like keeping up with the fish and the chicken and not mixing the two, and the onion rings and the French fries, and never making anybody wait, other than the time it took to prepare the fish or the chicken or whatever. And yeah, so I was like a one person. I could do the job of like 4 people right there, just because I love the challenge. Guess why? It's like, if you're just doing the same thing over and over and you don't... So I would find creative ways to put challenge to it. And I think that's what people need to do. But then I'll just share one other thing. So I had this other part-time job briefly, really briefly. I don't know if I did it for a few weeks or what. And it was in a factory. It was in the summertime. And it was in a factory where... I don't know what the information was, but it was like binders, and like binders everywhere, and packets of information, and then they would put it out on the tables, and like we would have to get all this stuff in binders. And I could do that really quickly. I get a lot of binders done. And I remember at the time, this is back in the early 80s, so my partner at the time was working there too. She didn't have much of work incentive or whatever, work, get up and go. So, but she stuck with it longer than I did. One day in the middle of winter, I've had it. I need to be free, man. So, we had break. It was 10:30 in the morning, and I said to her, I'm out of here. Are you coming, or you want to stay? And she goes, what do you mean you're out here? I'm like I'm quitting. I'm leaving. I'm going. And she's like, okay. And she said, no, I want to stay. I said, okay, I'll pick you up at the end of the day. And, you know, I mean, I just had to go. I couldn't stand it another minute. And I would make that decision here and there, different choice. I did a lot of weird jobs, too, just because offices, blech. I did a few of those jobs, too. Usually I got helped out of there, though. Like, it was kind of like, because, it wasn't my environment. I don't mean helped out like I did something horrible. Just, you know. I remember one woman firing me. It was a skip tracing job, right? You're phoning up people about debts, and I just didn't like to force myself on people and get all mean, so I wasn't any good at it. And so it was in May of like 1981 or whatever, but like I don't remember, but it was like somewhere in there. But it was May, I remember that, and it was warm out and sunny and just after winter. And she waited till 5 o'clock to fire me. I didn't care if she fired me. I was like, why couldn't you have told me at 10 o'clock this morning? I could have enjoyed the day, you know? And, oh yeah, I had a broken wrist at the time from hockey, and I had a cast. And we had some company just bought out this other company, or they bought out another. And we had all these file drawers that would go in file cabinets way back in the olden days. And they were, and I had sorted lots of them, right? All the cards in them, etc., and getting them ready to go in the filing cabinets. And the reason she said she was firing me because I didn't do anything, which I took very literally, right? Like more literally than I should have. And I'm like, oh, I didn't do anything? Okay. And I took I'm not proud of this. I don't recommend it, but it was cathartic, you know. There was 2 tables full of all these drawers that I had done all the work on, but I didn't do anything, remember? So I just took the arm with the cast and I knocked them all over the floor, which I can't really defend as, you know, reasonable behavior. But it was way back in the early 80s, and, you know, I was having those issues in my life. But I didn't do it in an angry way. I just did it to say to her, so everything hit the floor. I didn't touch anything else, just what I'd worked on. Then I said, you know what, lady? Now you're right. It's effectively like I did nothing. See ya. So there was other employees who wanted to clap, but they couldn't, or they'd get fired behind my ass. So I was like, please set me free, or else I'd just walk out and set myself free. Not always, but a few times. Get up there, Jake. And Joe said, I've been trying no contact for a bit. Today feels semi-okay. But I know this semi-good will not stay, and I'll feel bad again. Maybe once Valentine's Day passes, I'll have more good days. Well, yeah, but I hope you stick with, as you put it, trying the no contact. Because, you know, again, I don't want to be hard on anybody, but trying isn't doing. So look at it like you're doing it, like you've done it, like you're going to keep doing it. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean there's not going to be times like I have so many clients expressing to me, I just like, I so want to contact him or her. I so want, but they don't, because they learn the value of the struggle of not, right? But it is a struggle for quite a while. It's not easy. And Wheels, yeah, I'm not a big fan of working retail. Did I work? Oh, I worked a little bit of retail, but like that was okay. But it was in a sports store. But he said, but this job is already a lot better than my last job and is paying for my car and other things I need. So I'm happy. Well, that's great, Wheels. Yeah. And that's interesting, Lottie, but I don't know what that's in reference to. So, yeah, the no contact is like, it's really difficult. I'm going to try this without glasses. Come on. It's really difficult, but it is the way forward and the way to go. Okay, one down. Will I get the other button? And of course, codependency makes choices, decisions, new things, etc. And all that goes on in these relationships and the way they break up, etc. It's very, very difficult. And of course, some people they don't get to no contact, and then the hoovers come, Yeah, the untreated borderline, it comes a hoovering. I know I did that video already, but I'm just saying. They never come a hoovering with the truth. They don't come a hoovering with any therapy under their belt that would matter, or under the belt at all. They just come a hoovering. Yeah, like people really got to be careful what they want to hear, right? So that's something to think about when you're on, trying, as Joe put it, no contact. I hope that trying means you're doing it, but like it's new. You know what I mean? Because so important to set, Jake, so important to set intent and then goals and then do. And it doesn't make it easy. But there is a certain amount of adapting to creating a discipline. It doesn't have to be a huge, like, super discipline thing, but that will continue the momentum, even when it's really difficult, of what one has committed to take the action toward, like, no contact. So I'm not sure about what you mean by trying, because I hope you don't mean like you're just trying it and then you're, because it's not going to be easy. It's important to stick with it. Alicia, the breakup felt as deep as grief from a death for me. I had to treat it as such. Well, I mean, they're complex losses, right? Because you the person that you thought they were, and even untreated people with BPD have good qualities, right? And some astounding qualities at times. And you miss that about the person. But then there's the whole other side of it, right? So I think, it's like that. And a lot of losses in life that don't involve somebody actually passing on feel exactly like that. And you said it helped me validate the amount of pain because a lot of people couldn't understand it. Yeah, well, definitely that's still a hurdle for people out there, right? With people in your life or, because if they haven't been through it, they're not going to get it. And maybe you can relate, Alicia, that when you've had, or you have, but for me when I had, whatever, cluster B parents, it's like nobody gets it unless they have cluster B parents or a cluster B parent. I just don't get it. This whole adult child. I mean, I find it hard at 63 to go, I'm the adult child of BPD, NPD mother. Because, but I guess technically I am. And then when she's not here anymore, then technically I won't be. But I used to be. But yeah, we have to be careful about not clinging to labels in general, right? I mean, all the label-y stuff that's pushed around, and I don't like doing it here, but we have to, right? The linguistics, the understanding. We need to realize that what each label describes and people's experience with a person with a label or whatever is what's way more important than the labels, right? I think. So, by the way, are people thumbing up? Because if I have one little complaint on this channel, It's not how many people or what maniacal fool right now is thumbing down, because somebody's been triggered recently by something, hey? But what I notice is not how many thumbs down I get, but that I could use some more thumbs up. What are people forgetting? People just being lazy? Just asking, just curious, just saying. Not about my ego, it's about the algorithm. But the thumbs down helping the algorithm too. Because it's interaction, but I guess the poor person doing this doesn't understand that. They call me their nemesis twice. They should stop right there. Because if you call someone your nemesis, it means you can't beat them. So what are they playing at? And I'm not in a competition with them anyway. It'd be a waste of my time entirely. Okay, shut the mouth now, AJ. Joe, yeah, it's new territory for me. I was checking their social media. The stealth reverse Huber. In no contact. Okay. You were checking their social media often at one point because maybe hopeful they were getting better or something. Oh, interesting. Instead, saw an increase in provocative selfies. Now you're not checking it. Good. That's best for you is what I mean. I know there's nothing good for me to see. Yeah, and yeah, you were hopeful that they would get better, but remember, come on, person with BPD, we're talking years of therapy. We're not talking a week, a month, a year, 2 years, 5 years. And so when the entry to BPD comes a Hoover and back, see, it's people's codependency. It's the trap that you're in inside yourself to begin with. Why people like, I gotta have that feeling back, I gotta do it again, and it's like, I don't know. I'm not judging, I'm just saying it's like such the hard way to go about it. Because they're not going to change. And and a lot of people get hoovered and of course your feelings are still running high if it's been 2 weeks or a month or a few months or 6 months. But what could they have possibly changed, right? And like I said in the other video I did on this, like, and then they tell you that they love you. Well, you've already seen that show once, and how'd that feel, right? Because they're going to bring the same freaking thing all over again. That's why no contact is so important, because then you're not, because people are in vulnerable places with this for periods of time, right? Different for everybody. So if you're getting hoovered and you're not no contact, then you're just still vulnerable, right? And I've had clients say amazing things to me over time, like amazing in the sense that they are, when I think they're further ahead, then they'll say something and it's like, but I don't know what I'd do if she knocked on my door right now. It's like, oh, wow, okay. Because we have to just keep hoping that not too many come a hoovering and people get more work done before they come a knocking on the door, too. I'm glad you're feeling really hopeful, Wheels. That's great. And I just hope everything keeps on working out the way you need it to get, what you need, your mission accomplished for yourself. Yeah. Alicia's saying something back to Joe about the social media stuff. Well, I mean, the more I see what I don't, because I don't really, I have a certain Facebook page getting kind of trolled right now, but with stupid things I see sometimes that I have words that block from going through the channel. It's like, I won't even say what it is. It just doesn't make any sense. But I don't scroll anymore. Like I don't go on Twitter. I don't go on Facebook. I'm not scrolling through crap because like, I mean, what do I care what somebody had for breakfast? Or I used to notice, like I used to be on Facebook and more, and I noticed that like certain people, like you'd see them in the feed a lot, right? And if you connected them somehow, and I'm not saying people that I was or still am connected to over there that I never go to my profile page, if I go to Facebook at all, but like they got to change their profile picture 10 times a day. And then they got to do this and they got to do it. Well, these I don't think regular people are doing this. Averagely mentally healthy people aren't doing this. But maybe some people BPD because their mood changes and the picture sucks now, or narcissists, and like, but like really, like, I just can't imagine, like what you have for breakfast, or what. Oh, we're over here now. We're in the sun. We're in the shade. It's like people just take pictures of everything, and of course that's the other thing about these phones and social media stuff is people are like always trying to capture everything, and I'm a little guilty of it the odd time with my dog, my cat, cute things, but like I sometimes I don't take too well. I do take too many pictures sometimes, but I'm getting better because bottom line is just experience them while they're here instead of looking through the thing to get the picture. But then so many people do that because whatever they're doing, which I'm sure is much more interesting than what I'm doing on the average, my downtime or just me and my partner or whatever's going on. I don't pretend that my life is some thrill ride of impulsive risque, because no, it's the opposite, which is comfortable and peaceful. And some people call utterly boring. But I mean, I just can't imagine like putting it all on, social media anywhere. Like, why? Well, that's interesting, Lottie. You said maybe these days because the art and enjoyment has gone in mainstream society. Well, yeah, but it doesn't mean it's gone for everybody just because if it's more gone in mainstream. People miss the buzz of healthy intellectual discussion. Well, that's still hard to find. Seriously, still hard to find. Especially people that can agree to disagree and have healthy debate. Hard to find. I have a few people I can do that with, but it's not easy to find people like that. And you said the buzz of healthy intellectual discussion, and without that positive debate, free speech question mark. I don't know. Interesting. Alicia, I had to quit Facebook because it felt empty. I was wondering if other people knew something about it that I don't. I just gave up on it. Well, I've given up on it too, except sometimes I post videos up there and I have a couple pages. And one page, I haven't blogged recently, but like maybe I throw up is the wrong word. Maybe I post the odd blog post, like onto a couple pages. But yeah, I'm not even really incentivized to do that. And then I've been thinking about, should I do the live streams on Facebook and YouTube at the same time? And I'm like, but who needs double the trouble? Like, I don't mean that of most people, but, there's people on both platforms that, who needs double the trouble? And now people are like doing it, to YouTube, to Facebook, and Discord. And I'm like, I'm not going there. Or Instagram too, I guess, right? I keep thinking about that, but I'm like, no, I don't want to go over there. I don't. DC, hey there, AJ, just generally, if a partner emerging from a traumatic relationship candidly says, quote, I honestly don't know what I'd do if my ex knocked on the door, unquote, would that be grounds for patience or breakup? I think I have to read that again. How should one proceed while protecting one's sense of self-respect? I'm not. What I'm confused by is when you say grounds for patience or breakup. Because if a person is emerging from it, I assume they're on their way out or could have been ghosted or discarded. So that part confuses me. But, yeah, when people say, I honestly don't know what I'd do if the ex knocked on the door, people need to make sure they're in therapy if they're feeling that way. And then for me, when clients say that to me, the challenge is how to support and help around that, strategize, and not be too involved in, but when they say that, it's a red flag. That, like I've had clients who said that at different times, and And I think that doing better than they are, because as soon as they say that, I'm like, oh, here's a slippery slope. And the hope is the partner X isn't going to knock on the door. But people are often, even partway through their healing processes, still that vulnerable and susceptible, and that's why no contact is so important. And so how should one proceed while protecting one's sense of self-respect? Well, I think when one pays attention to one's sense of self-respect, then why would one want to have discourse or anything else to do or engagement with somebody who doesn't respect you? So when people are aware of the self-respect, that should help people to make the choice of not engaging any kind of hoover or knock on your door, because yeah, there's a lot of emotions there and the cognitive and emotional dissonance, but at the end of the day, the difference between those that will entertain the hoover or open the door or answer the phone or not be full no contact, I mean, I don't want to bring it down to brass tacks, but the brass tacks are the difference between those who have gone full no contact, they're starting to get, if not having, a sense of self-respect, among other things, and those who aren't yet aren't respecting themselves. So, you know, that's what I would say to that. And oh no, I think you have every reason to hope, Wheels, and you definitely need hope. It's a positive motivator, you know. And I think you're getting as close as you ever have been. So keep pushing and be positive. Yeah, you said, Wheels, you said, trust me, you don't need an Instagram. I don't think anyone does. Yeah, well, yeah, good point. By the way, I go to Facebook, not very often, but on this one page that's newer, and I don't really have much to do there, just a couple things I need to fix or set up or something. And I like, Facebook changed since I was last there. I'm like, I can't find frickin' anything, you know. So they're always, I did a YouTube survey today because it was in my thing, the Creative Studio. It's like, you can either do it or dismiss it, and I did it because I wanted to give some honest feedback. I'm like, why don't you protect us from harassment better? Why don't we have a place where you, and I'm not into reporting people really, because like that's, but a lot of YouTubers are into that. But there was one person that I felt like needed reporting to comment on this channel one time, and it was a while back. But like, it depends when you hit I've only hit it for my own channel, report something, and then like the menu. So that was just like from a long time ago. But I'm like, if they're actually going to read this, and just it's an anonymous thing. So, and then I guess at the beginning of the survey, I wasn't wholly positive. Like, what's your experience, or how would you rate your experience on YouTube? And I think I gave it like a 3. That really bothered the survey. You could tell, because all the rest of the questions were, why, what's wrong with it? And I'm like, and I was just happy to give my feedback. Like, anonymous sock puppet accounts, why do they keep letting that happen? Because I don't have any and I don't want any, but I've been accused of that too. There are people out there that have millions of them, I think. Probably somebody accused me of having a lot. Or something. I don't know. If I post anywhere on Facebook or YouTube, I don't post anywhere else. If I post on someone's channel, I post with the only accounts I have. One is this one, and the other is my other channel, and it's the same freaking picture, and it's my name. That's it. End of story. Emily, going through a divorce with BP husband, wasn't expecting him to instantly seek revenge. I thought I'd be doubting my decision to divorce and grieving, worrying for him. No doubting going on here. Yeah, I hear you. And in a way, I mean, it's terrible that he went there, but in a way, it kind of makes it pretty clear, doesn't it? Make my life easy when you're talking to each other. Okay. Oh no, it's like taking no accountability for what they're up to, Emily. Not shocking at all. They can't. I mean, I'm not trying to excuse what they do, but people that are untreated with BPD have no way to understand. Like they just don't, and so they're not going to take accountability. Of course, they should be held accountable, and depending what they do, if it violates the law, by all means, call the police and get them arrested, because then maybe they'll learn something about that. DC, by self-respect, I mean I, as the partner, listening to the one still conflicted over past relationship. I happen to already be dating her, but is her late admission itself time to walk away? I'm sorry, I must have missed something in the meaning there. Thank you for that super chat, DC, thanking me, and that's very kind of you. Thank you very much. What did you say back there? I must have missed the meaning. So you heard that from someone you just started dating? Because if I've got that right, because I didn't have it correct before, then I would say, yeah, that's a reason to walk. I mean, that's a red flag. Was that somebody who's saying, getting to know you, dating you, but I still got a foot back in the other relationship? And is it a sign of more right now? Maybe not, but you can always date them a little bit more in a non-committal way and, kind of step back in a sense and wait for the next, wait and see if something, red flag BPD comes out. Because that's strange that I think I misunderstood you. I hope I'm understanding it now. I don't know still. But I think it's a reason to walk away. Yeah, still conflicted over past relationship. Yeah. I mean, if it were me and that's what somebody was in that position, I'd be like, well, it would be best for you to sort that out, and it was nice getting to know you and, because, yeah, they do have to sort it out. And that could be a red flag to more or, but one would think a healthier person having ended a relationship wouldn't be so conflicted about it still. So I'd say there's a big red flag to something there for sure that probably, there's lots of other fish in the sea to date. So, but of course it's up to you, but that's just my 2 cents worth. And Natalie, I've had a Facebook account since 2009. I still have the account active. Well, you know what? If you deactivate it, they still have it anyway. And then if you go sign in again, boom, there it is. Something wrong with that. And there's a lot more wrong. But anyway, and you said, but I haven't gone into it in a long time. Way too much fakes competing with each other. Well, that's going on. It's on YouTube. Probably on Instagram. I'm not there. I'm sure it's going on Twitter. Yeah. I mean, whatever's up with that and whatever those people have going on. But, and then have you noticed, Natalie, that when you don't sign into your Facebook account for a long time or you don't go to Facebook, you get more emails from Facebook trying to entice you back with all these fascinatingly stupid, not really interesting things that they think you've got to see? Because there's probably all algorithm-generated emails, too, because they just think... Because a lot of people are really severely addicted to different platforms or the internet and social media in general. And for some people, just getting an email from a platform they haven't been on for 10 minutes or a day or a week or a month takes them right back. I'm like, I couldn't care less if you were promising me the best thing in the world. Delete. I don't even open the messages. But I notice the less I engage with certain platforms, the more I get the emails for like, I'm getting them from Instagram now because I went there once a few months ago. I don't even think I signed in. I don't know. I remember the password. Or maybe I was still signed in on a certain computer. And now I'm getting, apparently I'm getting follows over there. I can't get followers for the podcast I'm working on, but I'm getting followers where I'm not even. There you go. I don't care, or it says I'm getting followers, and it's in the subject, and then I just go delete. Well, it was hard to keep going when it didn't look like I was, yeah. I'm glad. Yeah, happy to be going in a positive direction. That's great. Oh, you said yes to Facebook emails. I did, but haven't in a while, thankfully. Yeah, well, I get them periodically, and lately they've just been the kind I need, which are when people plaster junk on your page it doesn't belong. And then you have to go ban them and delete them. And I'm just talking about, it's not even what they're saying about videos or back to me. It's just like it's total spam. It's like trying to advertise. Well, I've seen it here on YouTube. Spellcasters, they can get rid of the spell that's been placed on you by the borderline or the narcissist. Because that makes all kind of sense, right? No. And YouTube has a big problem with channels, man, that lead. I don't know. I'm just saying I never clicked. But they these pictures of women who barely have any clothes on, and I think they've had to kind of make them. And they're the comments you'll see on channels that people don't delete them. Like, they'll have a lot of emoticons, and they'll be, right on, yeah. Or, I need a boyfriend, I'm lonely. And I just always make sure I go and click on it, block it, even though there's a million of them. That's one less. And then delete it, And we also, when I had Facebook, I never used it. And it still managed to cause me problems. You can hard delete your profile so no one can find it. Yeah, well, you said, but it's a bit of a pain. But you probably have to be techie like you to do it, Joe, yeah, it's easier to open a bank account than delete Facebook or Instagram. Yeah, it's easier to get rid of a bank account, too. Which reminds me, I got one to get rid of. But, yeah. Rab, if you want to eliminate the spell cast by your ex, just share your head and wear a necklace. I'm sorry. Shave your head and wear a necklace. Yeah, no kidding, Rob. That's a good one. Yeah, because that'll do it. But then I think shaving your head and wearing a necklace casts a whole different kind of spell, Clever, Rob. I like that. By the way, I didn't get to watch the Leaf game yesterday, but I watched Steve Dangle, and they won big time, so that's cool. I got to not... It's superstition on my part. Silly. But I should keep missing their games because they're winning more of them than they're losing. So has nothing to do with me not watching. I know that. Wheels. Oh, wow. We have literal magical thinking now. How lovely. With what exactly, I'm not sure. But okay. Lottie, I find the computer world very complicated. It frustrates me and makes me feel stupid. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Because other people seem to be so much better. But I completely accept I can't be good at certain things. Well, I mean, and I do what I do online, etc., and I do what I've learned how to do. But like, ever since HTML5, like I used to be able to do a website from a text document. But then when it got more complicated, it's like, okay, never mind. I was just going to say, by the way, maybe within a week or two, that podcast I've been talking about, that I'll be talking with someone else, and I think it's going to be more interesting than just listening to me, period. And you can listen to us disagree and agree to disagree. And hopefully I won't lose my shit. You never know. I doubt it. But the other person might lose their shit first. And I'm just saying, I'm intending on not losing mine. So you might want to tune in and I'll let you know when that podcast starts. You might want to tune in just to see, does AJ lose her shit or not? Just saying. No, that's just a little drama of nonsense to get you interested, right? I don't normally do that stuff. Nally, OMG, my boss gets those on his work email. Yeah, it's a sexy girl with a caption like, I'm lonely. Yeah. And sometimes they come in all ethnicities. And I think there's males too. But yeah. Or I don't know why YouTube doesn't get rid of them. Like, seriously. People are nuts if they click on... Yeah, I've never clicked, but it's obvious what they're about, right? And then I've gone over, like, when they post it on VideoMine, and I'll click on that, and I go over, and the channels seem to not be doing this anymore. What they were... This is all I know. They would have, like, 36 women in all different various stages of undress and pumping up the butt and whatever, And So I would spend the time on the page to hit each one and go block, 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 right? Because it's like, well, there's another 36 that won't be bothering me out of millions. But now the last page I had to click over to block like that looked like they can't get away with that anymore. So, but this is a relatively new phenomenon on YouTube as far as I'm aware, and they really ought to shut it down. Just think how many people do click though. Just think how many people, that's what they need at a particular moment in time. Just saying, you know, not judging, just saying. Well, nowadays you have to use computers, however many mistakes they seem to make. Never mind. Well, yeah, just do the best you can, right? I mean, that's all any of us can do. Natalie, I meant the emails sometimes come in, in Chinese writing. So you can't even read it, laugh out loud. Well, you know what? Here in Canada, I hope it happens in the U.S. too. Sorry, everywhere. We get these phone calls, and it's somebody in Chinese. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, it's ridiculous. Apparently, they're pretending to be from my internet provider and, quote, cable company. I just have basic cable. I never really, for sports, because I don't really watch. And even then, I stream it, But if I didn't have the basic cable, I wouldn't have the thing to sign in to stream it. But the thing is, so there's these phone calls that come, and and sometimes, they leave the message, and then you have to check the message, and it's like, oh, God. And nothing against Chinese people. I don't speak it. You know what I'm saying? So, I had a website once, and I let the domain go because I wasn't really using it. I have domains I don't use, right? But and then it's in some of my older videos still, and on one of them, but not all of them. I might have got it back since. I don't know. But after I let it go, it was like, I think it was called BPD Coach or something. I don't remember what. And the next thing you know, there was Japanese porn all over it. And I'm like, oh, this is great, because people are going to see it, and then they're going to click on it, and nothing I can do about it. I think people get that I'm not Japanese and I'm not into porn. Hopefully, at least, I'm just saying. And I'm not a sumo wrestler, so don't go there. Okay? Huh. Why does this shit go through my head? Wheels, I was making a joke about those who claim the borderlines and narcs cast spells, and they can get rid of it. It's extra magical thinking. Oh, yeah, but I think you missed what Rab was talking about, so, which we can't explain. Don't anybody try to explain. But I hear you, Wheels. I mean, there's a lot of magical thinking going on up there. And I'm beginning to notice that narcissists seem to do it too, or at least some of them do. Just saying. But, I wonder how many, Natalie, I wonder how many people's bosses actually, aren't disgusted when they get that, just saying, They're like, excuse me, get out of the office, I'm busy, I'll have a meeting, click. I mean, I'm sure some people must. But it's just it's like those, I don't watch TV anymore. But you remember those old commercials for there's all these really hot looking, sexy women, and which I can certainly appreciate because I'm a lesbian, but I'm just saying, not my type anyhow. And all that. But and they're around the pool, and they're licking their frickin' lips, and that's really supposed to matter. And then the 900 number thing. And it's like, I met a woman once, way back when I was single and dating, and she said I said, the questions you ask, so what do you like, so what do you do, and blah, blah, blah. And she said she was a web designer, and I'm like, oh, cool, maybe we'd have something in common too a little bit. Anyways, as I got to know her, it didn't take long to know I didn't want to know her anymore. But, so I was over at her place one day, and, for dinner and whatnot, and, just dinner, and maybe TV. But anyways, her phone keeps ringing, and she ignores it for a while, and then she picks it up, and then, she's, arranging for when she can talk to somebody, and I'm like, okay, because normally if a friend calls, you just talk to them. Long story short, this woman had a lot of money, which doesn't impress me much, because if I don't who cares? If I like you, I don't care if you're on the broke side, the rich side, somewhere in the middle. So, but yeah, I asked about the calls, and then she seemed to feel awkward, and it was like something's off here. And then Jake, go back up, bud. Go on. There's wires between you and me. And so anyway, long story short, she worked on the phone lines for that. And again, why do I have to remember these things right now? She was my size, or then some, at that point. My size now, and then some. And she worked on one of those lines. So I got a kick out of that, because I'm sure she was good at what she did, and she had a good voice and all that, but I'm like, whatever. Never mind. Point was, though, so, yeah, people that look kind of like me are the ones answering the phones, but I guess guys don't care about that part because they're watching the women. But as if the women in the commercials would be the ones on the phone. No, they're probably busy. So I'm not trying to put myself down, and I'm not associated with that. I'm just saying, I happen to know of a few other people that were doing that as well, but not that I dated. But then I couldn't get rid of her because she was like one of those I want to glom onto you type codependents, and asked me the first day we were talking in the park. We met in the park. She asked me because we met through somebody that I used to know. So I didn't want to know after that. But we're having just a general conversation. It's just kind of like we're just getting to know each other a little bit, sitting in the park. And she goes, "So, do you find me attractive?" And I'm like, I hadn't even thought of it yet. I didn't answer, by the way. That was awkward. I just didn't answer. I was like, oh man, is that a blue jay or is that a cardinal? No, I looks like a crow over there. Oh, look at that. Yeah. Because it was like too much too soon. And then it turned out I wasn't interested, so who cares? Yeah, girls gone wild. That's the commercial. Oh, okay. Well, there's so many. They're infomercials, aren't they, or whatever. I don't know if they still do that. I don't watch TV. Wheels. Jake. Yeah, I know. He's being a little bit up to things lately. I can't. Okay, good. There's a desk in between me and where his head is right now. He was hilarious earlier. He was laying the other way on the couch. And, I think it was when I was with my last client. And I noticed that, no, it was right after that. So I was still sitting here, though. And I'm not always sitting here, just for the record. But he was over there, and he was sleeping. And, of course, all the lights are okay, but they drive me nuts. And it's been a long time under the lights today. I can't wait to get out of turn them off. So he was asleep like this with his paw and his arm over his eyes. And I'm like, he's a sensitive dude. He's funny because we don't really usually have the lights on as long as they've been on today. So he's doing this, and he's sleeping. And I don't know what my sneezes are. It's temperature changes because I've been sneezing a lot for quite a while. I'm not catching anything. It's just temperature changes in here or something. So, and then I sneezed. And when I sneeze, unfortunately, it's a little loud. It just usually is. And I sneezed, and I wish I had a video of this because this was hilarious. And so Jake is like this asleep, right? And I sneeze, and then his head's back, and he's looking at me like, it's a dog. I mean, he's not reasoning, but I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm sorry to have disturbed you, sir. It was just a moment. It was funny. Probably doesn't translate, but you had to be there, be here. Alicia, glad to see Jake doing well. Yeah, he is doing pretty well with his thyroid issue. I can't say the same with that and then some. But, no, he's doing pretty good. Yeah. And Buffy's doing good too. She's right now in the crate because those two would fight. And I'm over here behind wires and stuff. So that wouldn't work out so good. And right now, Rafie, my cat's out there somewhere. But they get together and they have some fun. I think Rafe is really enjoying my partner's company because he's a weird cat. He comes and visits me once in a while. But he's still missing my late dog, Lucy. I mean, so am I. So is Jake. Buffy isn't. But because Lucy used to let Rafe cuddle up with her, So, due to the current world situation, my situation, the fact of being in this place, I mean, I really hope things might look up or whatever, and love to move out of here and lose weight and move out of here. and then be able to get another puppy would be great, just because one that's mellow like Lucy. That's all I'm looking for. I can never replace Lucy. She was so fascinating. It's such a great dog. Fascinating? What was I going to say? Fabulous, I think. Maybe she was fascinating too. Natalie, laugh out loud. That was great. Is that a blue jay or a cardinal? You said your phone keyboard messed up. Yeah, no. Well, I mean, if you've been talking to somebody for an hour, like again, I'm not. Oh, maybe some women are. Maybe some women aren't. Maybe some lesbians are. I'm not. I'm not going to go, oh, wow, man, by the look of somebody, whether I'm attracted or not. I want to get to know them first. So I wasn't really paying much attention. And she was a bigger woman, but like I don't mind that in a woman. I'm just saying. I want to be littler, but anyway. But it, her personality was kind of like meh from the beginning and only got worse. So, and then it was a day after the park that I went to her place for dinner, and I'm like, yeah, this is a lot. And then, but I went because I was curious. And then, yeah, there was this moment, I swear, where it was like she was talking, she was, trying to glom on. Like, we could be in a relationship right now, like, hurry up. Like, can't remember the word she was using. But then she was talking about all her stuff because I'm sure on that phone line, tons of money, whatever, good, had a house. I went into the kitchen at that time, a long time ago, to get a can of pop. And I think she was on the phone again. And I'm standing in the kitchen going, wow, man, look at that. She had everything. It looked like a professional restaurant and then some. I mean, anything and everything for anything and everything that was room related to whatever. She had it all over the place. And at that point in time, way back when it wasn't popular, she had like a 55-inch TV, which looked huge because they were rare, And so she had all this stuff anyway. I didn't care. I was just noticing. Oh, interesting, and every DVD known to mankind. Cool. Or whether they were tapes back then. Probably were VHS tapes. But the point is, she said a line to me. I don't remember what it was, but the essence of it, because this is how I heard it anyway, like a game show announcer saying, and if you just like me, all of this can be yours too. And I'm like, uh-huh. Right after she said that, I said, whatever she said that I'm paraphrasing as that's how I heard it. I was like, I had a watch, whatever, at the time. But even if I don't have a watch on now, I'll still go, that old kid thing, it's a freckle past a hair and I'm super late. So anyway, I looked at my watch and it was probably like 7:30. I said, oh my goodness, I didn't realize how late it is. I got to get going. And she's like, but it's only 7:30. I'm like, yeah, but oh no, it's late for me. Stuff, you gotta go. And then she's like, well, I'll drive you home. And I'm like, oh my God, does this ever stop? Because I wanted to take a cab. I just wanted to get away from her. Oh, she ends up driving me home. And then what happens on the drive home? Oh, more flirting, more stuff, more like, oh my God. And then as we get to my place, I'm like, oh God, she's going to expect a kiss and everything. And I'm like, well, I just have to be a dork. I just have to act like I don't have a clue. So sitting there, she starts to try to have a little chit chat. And I'm like, gotta go. It was great. I get out. She's still talking. I shut the door. I'm like, oh God. And then she would email. I couldn't get rid of her, but I wouldn't go see her again. But then she called me a really mean, horrible person because I was ignoring her. And then, the poor woman that she captured. But it was a person that was, I think, blind and handicapped, and the mother had to bring them over. And maybe that would work for them because it was extreme codependence and stuff going on there. But then when she finally did find this, how do I know this? Only because she emailed me, phoned and left a message on my phone, and said, you're such a loser. You could have had me and blah, 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 and you're mean and yada, 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 insult, insult, insult. I can't believe how mean you are. And now I have somebody, and you're probably still alone. And I'm like, hallelujah, she has somebody, because that was the last time I ever heard from her. I just ignored her. Dating, whether you are gay, lesbian, or heterosexual, is not really a fun activity more often than not. That was a long time ago. Just saying. Wheels, that's funny, AJ. I can imagine the horror on a caller's face if they found out who was on the other side. Yes, the horror. I know, because people that look like me, it's horrible. No, I hear you. But yeah, at that point, she was like bigger than I am right now, and this is like, a problem, and we're gonna get it fixed, medically speaking. But yeah, I mean, do guys really think that there's hot chicks answering the phone? Because there isn't. Because the hot chicks have a life, and the other people, they're there for the money, and they can, make it sound good, but that was the beauty of I guess nowadays, wherever this stuff is on the internet, they have to really look like they have to be looking like the talk, right? Because otherwise, whatever. Just reminds me of the time I think I mentioned before a long time ago on live stream that I was watching one of those meditation, those, there don't seem to be so many live streaming. The waterfalls, and something in Bermuda or somewhere it looked like. So I'm just watching this relaxing thing for like 10 minutes, and it's live stream. So I hit the live chat, and 2 people were in there cyber sexing, making out like, and I'm like, oh, seriously? So that was funny. But I got out of there because I wasn't going to like watch in the text, oh, baby, that's good. Yeah. And what about right there? And I was like, oh, I'm out of here. Wheels, I'm going to say the other dog's name, but I know I'd cause some trouble. Oh, you were going to, but yeah, I know, because right now laying down, and if I say it, jumping up and down. But it's just a setup I have right now, and the fact of what's going on in this room, and the desk and all the computers. It needs some organization in here. But so they're not behind me, because I used to be over there, and but like I just found, like in some of my older videos or live streams, it's cute they're there. But like, I mean, the dog that we shall not name is like just totally would jump in my face to the point where like I'm getting her nose in my mouth, and that's not pleasant. And yeah, I couldn't I just couldn't do what I was doing. And Lottie said, I've started to wonder with all the information on manipulative people around, and also considering how they can trick me for 3 months, maybe years, is better to trust people who are a little awkward. It's also, for me, I feel the person is good, and it's so hard to tell. Well, again, it's going to be the degree to which you trust yourself, and then you have to, I mean, nowadays, I think always to some degree or other, but nowadays you have to be really discerning. I mean, and if I was out there meeting people, like, I'm in a relationship, so of course I'm not, and the world, but, and wait a minute, I can't find the button. There, I found the button. Okay. What was I going to say about that? I mean, it's getting harder and harder in this world today, but I don't think it was ever super easy. That people would just, oh, that's a pun I didn't intend. Okay. Because sometimes it is super easy, isn't it? Hi, how are you? How are you? Let's, okay. But I think people have to be really discerning now for sure. And so that's where codependents get themselves in trouble too, because of the emotional hunger to be seen and to be heard, and being in love with being in love, which is also for some people codependent, an issue that goes with codependency. So with all that, it's like people really have to be discerning. And I mean, never mind that story I just told you about that woman. It was like, I think I might have seen her 3 times, and I left that one because it was just boring. But like, and it was like, oh, and I mean, there was just something, and I didn't know what it was, but she was obviously a rampant codependent. And she just wanted somebody to move in with her real quick. Like, and when she found the other person, it's probably a couple months later, but like, she was just looking for a warm body. It didn't matter who it was. I caught that right in the beginning. And I'm like, well, it matters to me who I'm going to be with, and it matters to me if I matter to them a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So it was like a disaster, but I got out of that one. Glob, you said howdy. Howdy to you too. Emily, quote, no matter how many times... Oh, I can't say that. Well, this may not apply to all, made me contemplate how much wrongdoing is due to disorder versus consciously. Oh, okay, well, I thought you were quoting somebody else. That's why I didn't read it. But no, I get it now. Okay, but... because that's another YouTuber having a go at me, or once in a while, or I don't know how he'll ever forget, because he just, what he does. In sort of the empath area of the internet, just to be clear. And more, but I'm not going to say it. Not worth it. I don't care. So that quote made you contemplate how much wrongdoing is due to the disorder versus consciously. Well, who they are. Well, narcissists are false self, right? Really, really protected, more powerful false self than borderline. So they don't really know who they are either, but they don't care because they're too busy aggrandizing the idea of like whatever, And so, but I think a lot is due in BPD and NPD, a lot is due to the disorder. A little bit different with narcissists, depending, and they're not all the same. But when they get into the severe category and or malignant and beyond, and they're overt, grandiose ones, or they're just general run-of-the-mill histrionic narcissists, because there wouldn't be a YouTuber out there like that, would there? But the thing is, so a lot of it, like I've tried to talk more about this on this channel, a lot of it isn't really conscious, but it doesn't change your experience, and it doesn't mean you should excuse any of it. Like, it's not an excuse for it. It's just an explanation. That so many people vilify, especially people with BP, thinking it's all done on purpose. Some things are. Like, I'm going to have some videos coming explaining, like, particularly a few things, that many of the people with BPD, I was going to say many of them, many of the people with BPD are absolutely consciously aware that they're doing. And how can you tell the difference? Well, it varies vastly across people with BPD, so it's really hard. Wheels, yeah, dating is something I want nothing, in capital letters, to do with, at least not for a good long time. Yeah, well, I feel pretty blessed that, I got into a relationship with a friend who was a friend for 30 plus years, because it didn't mean dating again. Although we dated a bit, but we knew each other really well, right? But the thing is, if it hadn't been for my partner kind of, coming my way, I don't know that I would, I was just, that wasn't on my mind whether or not I'm going to be in another relationship. So, Emily, like, no matter how much promise or treatment, some people are just bad intention underneath it all. Really sad reality on the receiving end. Yeah, and again, it's really hard to say if underneath it all they're bad intentioned, because again, that's I'm not trying to pick on you, but you can make that statement, you can believe that. I'm just saying, but you can't know that because nobody can see through, and people don't look at or understand or care really what's motivating the behavior. So, it's hard to say that underneath they're bad intentioned, because how do you, what's underneath versus the disorder? And I'm not here to defend BPD or NPD behavior. Wheels, you can probably blame me for some of the dog's craziness in streams. Yeah, no kidding. I remember. I used to say her name so much. Yeah, you did. And I don't know if you Wheels, you must remember Lucy. I mean, you might not now, but you saw Lucy too. Back, because she had to be euthanized October 2019. So, but I still watch it. It's hard, of course, but I watch my cat still looking for her. And I miss how he used to go up to her and lick her on the nose, lick her ears, and then he'd curl up. And because he tries, like, the dog not to be named right now chases him all the time. Australian Shepherd, prey drive, pretty common. She doesn't hurt him, but she won't leave him alone, chases. And Jake, what are you doing now, bud? By the way, no, we'll leave it. Jake doesn't care, but what happens is if my cat jumps up on the couch where Jake is when I'm in here, then he usually has a bone around, and he's a resource guarder. So you'll hear that's what you've heard on some of my videos or the podcast videos. You hear this big dog bark. It's him guarding his bone from a cat who doesn't know a bone from a hole in the ground, right? Silly. But I mean, Jake won't let him curl up with him either, and I feel so bad for him. And then, like, sometimes he just doesn't give me the time of day. I'm like, I'll curl up with you and I'll, pet you, but you're just going, okay, well, never mind. Cats are funny like that. And then, of course, when I'm busy doing something else, that's why he's not in here right now. He'll crawl right up me and he'll be like all over me or the chair I'm sitting in or something. And it's like, and then what do cats always do when they're being social with you? They always put their ass in your face. What's up with that? I'm like, dude, no, the other end. He's got blue eyes. He's so handsome, I don't want to see the butthole. Well, I don't because of his fur and his tail, but I'm just saying. Whew. Wheels, you can probably... Oh, no, I read that. Glob, I read a letter. I read a letter I didn't send to the ex earlier today. Maybe you mean you wrote a letter. I don't know, but you read a letter. The cognitive dissonance had me laughing out loud. Can't believe I was that bad. Oh, so you read maybe, okay, a letter from before. Well, that's a good place to be in, right? As long as you didn't judge yourself. Wheels, I'm so happy for you with your partner, AJ. It's awesome. Well, thank you. It is awesome. It really is. And it doesn't matter how big I get. She still loves me. Just saying, because real love is real love. Real love isn't conditioned upon, did your 3 slip into a 2 today? Did your 10 fall down to a 6? Just saying. Some people are so into just the looks of it all. Well, yes, I remember Lucy AJ. She was a lovely dog. Yeah, no. Makes me sad. When I go back to those videos, and I'm not sure... I wasn't doing too many videos when my late dog Tyler was still here. He might be in the background of a couple, I don't remember. But I there was a comment on one video from 2017 recently, and I went back to look at the video. I forgot all about the comment. I just sat there going, oh, there's Lucy. And started to cry. I miss her so much. I miss them all. My late dogs, pets, cats. Just, yeah. Lottie, I remember lovely Lucy. Gentle and like a matriarch amongst your lovely animals. Yeah, that's thank you for that. That touches me, really, that you would say it that way, because that's a great way to describe her. Lovely seeing the dog and cats, AJ. Yeah, and Lucy was like that, because when Lucy was flowing with things, dogs would be doing stuff around her. But when Lucy didn't want it going on anymore, Lucy had a way of making it stop. So Lucy kind of was the matriarch among the dog crowd. Not that I had that many, but, at one point I had 4, which is illegal here, There's supposed to be 3 per household. But anyway, I could, not in an apartment, but in a house with a yard, I could have 6 dogs and it wouldn't feel cramped or crowded or like too much to me. I mean, I wouldn't want like 10 or... The limit here per household used to be 10 dogs. And then I think they found that too many people were breeding them or they were having these accidental, puppies. But now they say 3. And there's another city that's not far from where I live. I like their rules. I considered moving there once, and you never know, depending on the world. But, like, I'm not, I don't, dogs. But, like, for dogs was the reason I was thinking about it, because they had a rule that they didn't limit how many dogs you could have. Not that I would want hundreds of them or, But you could only have, what was the rule? Not limit of dogs per household, but limit of 1 or 2. So if you had 5 dogs, then 3 of them would have to be spayed or neutered, which makes sense, right? So anyway, something like that. Wills, I don't think you ever stop missing dogs once you lose them. I never stopped missing either of mine. Yeah, and for me right now, the total's 4. And cats, it's like 3. And no, I mean, but truthfully, after a while, like I think of Tyler and Lucy were, like I have to say it one more time, not comparing to anybody else's dogs, but for me, even my first dog, Mandy, who's been gone for almost 14 years, and that does change it. It's like, remember her, but not like a lot, unfortunately, because it's been a longer time. But I will remember her, and fondly, of course. But like Lucy and Tyler were just 2 of the most amazing dogs I ever had the pleasure of having in my life, and they were both mellow. And Tyler was a golden retriever collie cross, who looked more golden retriever, and golden color with just a little black spot on his tail. And Lucy was a yellow lab, so. But like they were just and together what they were, they played and they loved each other and they were always doing stuff together. And these 2 hate each other. So that's the depressing part about these 2. I can't enjoy them together. I have to do something with one and then the other because they seriously get into fights. I don't know why, but they do. It's first time, like I've said this before, first time ever I've had 2 dogs that won't play with each other. And it's really Jake. He just doesn't like the other one. Because the other one tries to play with him every time we're coming and going. But, like, no, he won't have it. Could be his age now, but he wouldn't have it even three years ago. Anyway. Yeah, pets in general. Yeah, it's true. People don't stop missing them, just like some people, right? But I do have a t-shirt somewhere that says the more I get to know people, the more I love my dogs, because there's that sentiment sometimes, but not totally. Lottie, 10 is better because you can have some core dogs, but if a neighbor needs to give up their dogs, or if you find some stray dogs you bond with, you can keep them and help out. Yeah, well, I can't right now because A, it's what's going on in the world, but B, I'm in an apartment. And when you have, like I have a 3-year-old and a 8.5-year-old dog, pretty much like, I'm a trained dog trainer. So, I learned a lot about this and I've trained dogs in the past, but never was my career or anything. But, really when you have established dogs, like personally myself, I wouldn't take a stray dog and I wouldn't go adopt a dog that's a year old or 2 years old. Because sadly, so many of them weren't treated well, and they have massive problems. But the other thing is, if you're going to bring a dog in where you already have dogs, it's best for it to be a puppy. Because even Jake is a suck with a puppy. Like, he won't hurt a puppy, because they just know, so. Yeah, of course you're going to still miss them, but sometimes it will get to you. I can relate to that. Sometimes it gets you. And then you said, your Westie lived a long time, so I'm grateful for the time I had with her and grateful for the time with both. Yeah, me too. But I don't know. It just is what it is. Sometimes I feel it more than others, but Lucy's in so many of those videos, so I encounter that a lot. Or then my stupid iPhone decides to tell me, it couldn't say a year right now, but when you get the year thing, like not now, but I got one, the memories that the phone generates, and who cares? Because I have pictures of things on my phone that they're things I got to look up. They're questions people ask. They're video idea. Who cares? But to see that played back, it's important. But there was one recently that I don't know why, but a picture of Lucy was just still in there, and I just probably watched it 10 times for that reason and cried. So sometimes your phone just reaches out to get you, I think, Natalie, there was a funny meme about people that said, quote, "Now I know why Noah only let animals on the ark," unquote. Oh, I've never heard that one. That sounds like it would be funny. And 2x2, of course, right? But wasn't his wife with him or something? I don't know. Sticking with the 2x2 rule? I don't know. Did he have any bugs on that thing? Just curious. Did he save any, like, ants or little lizards and things? Or, I don't know. I should probably know that, but, like, I don't think it's that detailed. Lottie, after Christmas, often dog rescue get unwanted, slightly older, but basically puppies the kid doesn't want. Yeah. Well, you know, when I got Lucy, she was a purebred, and she was a dog that somebody purchased from a breeder, and I got her when I was living in a different city back in 2006, but at the end of 2006, and so I was looking for a dog, and I was just looking through this little paper, see if there's any puppies out there, and there was this one that said they had a dog that she was almost 3 months old, which that's not too bad, and yeah, that they were trying to find her a home because this was somebody who took in dogs. So somebody purchased Lucy for a lot more money than I did, and you know, because she was a purebred, took her from a breeder. To get the story I heard was it was a woman who bought the dog for her boyfriend on Valentine's Day. Didn't want the dog. Lucy ends up in this place. I'm looking for a border collie at the time for some reason, because I've had them years ago. Because, yeah, I'm talking about recent dogs. I'm talking about dogs. Because over the course of my life, there's been other dogs, right? But I just don't tend to bring them into this because they've never been on video, or I didn't have a YouTube channel then. So I was looking for a border collie primarily, and then I saw this ad, and I never had a lab before. And wrongly of me, I thought they were rather stupid dogs, because I had a friend who had a chocolate lab that was the dumbest dog I ever met, but it was just that dog, I think. So anyway, I looked it up online and said, no, they're intelligent, and the lighter the color, the better the temperament. And so I went and looked, right? Like, I phoned up the lady. I said, you saw the dog? She's like, yeah. It wasn't far away, and, you know, luckily, but it didn't matter. So I went over to look, and she's like, oh, yeah, come and see her because you'll fall in love with her. You'll probably want her. But I was looking for a different breed. I took one look at those eyes, right? And I'm like, oh, my God, yeah. So on the spot, she became my dog. And Tyler, I just want to say one other thing, because we're not here to talk about dogs, but when I was looking for a dog, and I went and you know, when I would eventually choose the dog I named Tyler, so a friend drove me out, like, a little ways out of the city here, and to a farm, and that's where the dogs were, right? And so it was in the middle of winter, and we had to try to walk up. It was all ice. Try to walk up this hill. It was like you just kept falling down. Finally got up the damn hill. And then there was this dog that was supposedly the mother of the dogs, like supposedly Tyler's dog mom, jumping up on us, knocking us over down the ice again. You know, it was a crazy dog. And more of a, like, collie mix something. But what I know about those farms is, you know, they get their dogs from puppy mills, and then they say they're a mix of this, that, and the other thing, more often than not. And so whoever they say the adult dog or the father and mother dog, it's usually not true. So in this case, I doubt that was his mother dog. But the point was, I went in the barn, and I was really distressed at what I saw. Like, they were in, what do you call it? Hay, because I'm such a city person. They were in this enclosure, and they had hay and all. That's fine. But it was the middle of freezing winter, and their water dish was hard ice. I'm like, this isn't taking good care of puppies. So anyway, I forget what they told me that Tyler was, but I went in there, and the whole rest he was supposed to be a lab cross something, because what do they know? Because obviously Tyler came from somewhere else, and he didn't belong with the other 8 puppies, because the other 8 puppies were all black labs. And I could tell that. And I had a black lab as a kid. It's a sad story. I won't go into it here. So I can't have another black lab because I always think of that dog. So I'm like, I'm looking at all these black lab puppies, and they're all cute, but I'm like, I can't get a black lab. And then I see this other dog roaming around. And because he didn't belong in the litter. He wasn't a litter mate of these dogs. So they're all little puppies. They're 6, 7 weeks old. But they kept on jumping on this golden-colored dog, which was Tyler, or the dog that I would name Tyler. They kept jumping on him and you know, kind of like bullying him, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. And he didn't want nothing to do with it. And he would just roll over, like get knocked over, and he'd just get up and carry on like nothing happened. And then, so this was going on, and I'm standing in there with the dogs, and I already know I'm either picking this one or I can't pick any of the other 8. So I watched him for a little while, and I saw how mellow he was, and they'd toss him and roll him, and he'd get up, and he was happy as a lark, and he obviously didn't belong there and fit in. So anyway, then he comes over, and he sits on my boot. And that was it. I'm like, yeah, you're mine. Let's go. He was this amazing dog. But I called him Mr. Zen because he was like that. Hey there, Reddens. Oh, that's interesting. So you think that Noah's Ark, according to Genesis, had every kind of animal. So you think that applies to bugs. But the thing is, bugs aren't animals, so I still wonder. Just saying, I have to be the one with the fly in the ointment part of the thing. Yeah, who knows, eh? I mean, Wheels, I got to try to sleep, AJ. Good night. Yeah, take care. And, Lottie, dogs sometimes find you rather than the other way around. Yeah, I've had that happen before, too. A mix, as well as Tyler. A mix of circumstances, and you find you have got a dog when you weren't expecting to. Yeah. And Wheels, oh man, I want to buy every dog in that place just to get them out of there. Well, yeah, it was hard because when I left with him that night, and then me and my friend had to make it down the ice without. So actually, I just let Tyler slide down the ice. He was Mr. Mellow. I thought, you're probably safer than if I fall on you, just in general, or my friend. So, and when we got to the car, of course, he smelled like a barn. But yeah, their water was frozen. I was really not. I didn't say anything, but it was hard to just walk away, because that's wrong. And so anyway, then I remember the car ride home with Tyler and my friend. I was sitting in the back seat. My friend was driving, and then we stopped off at a pet store, and because I had him there and get to call her with Fit and the food, but I just remember, and Mandy was like this too, because she came from a barn, and you have to bath them several times before you get the barn out of them. So anyway, yeah. So dogs. Well, we're probably talking a bit too much about dogs, but I think I was going to say the cool thing about dogs is they don't have personality disorders, but then that's not true. It is and it isn't, because I had a puppy once back in about 2012 or 14, and I'm not kidding you. I don't know what was wrong with that dog, and I did investigate because maybe it had deep psychological problems, or maybe it had a brain issue, because it was just freaking weird and nutty, and yeah, I couldn't handle that dog. So I tried to rehome it. People came and took them, and then they would never contact me again because they probably either found out what was wrong with them, and maybe it wasn't a good ending, or they gave him to somebody else. Poor dog. He wasn't right. He just wasn't right. So, anyway, that's probably enough dog talk. Now I feel semi-sad. I'm thinking of Tyler and Lucy, but yeah, then you have to go to the celebratory memories, don't you? The fantastic, funny things. And the cool thing I'll just say is with Tyler and Lucy and a couple other pets I've had that are now late pets, and cats, I have lots of video of them, but Mandy I had before the internet and everything, and so I don't have as many pictures, but still, she was such a unique looking girl. I remember her. Well, who knows, Wheels, if he had bugs on the boat or not. They probably would survive whatever was coming anyway, like cockroaches and bugs, and they seem to survive everything anyhow. So, hard to say. But anyway, oh wow, do we go? Oh, we went over 3 hours again. Gotta kind of cut that out, I think. But anyways, yeah, I'm just gonna read the last comment here. I'm gonna get going. Lottie, it's hard to walk away because you can't get involved with all problems. This is true. Like a bad puppy center. How do you generally deal with walking away from vulnerable people as well? Well, by realizing, that there's a lot of people that are homeless here, maybe more so since what's going on in the world, but they have mental health challenges or mental illnesses, and they don't want help, and so I've seen some people, and I've even talked to them a few times here and there, and maybe given them, a few bucks or something like that here and there. But it's like they don't want to be rescued. And so again, it's like if you have codependency, like it's important to just realize that, you know, we can't change the world, and there's people on the street who people try hard to help and they don't want the help, and you don't know who's who. But like, yeah, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm the kind of person that feels sad when I see a squished skunk on the road. Or not skunk, a little bit them. But chipmunks, you know? Like I remember when I was out riding my bike when I could do that and when the world was different. I mean, and I'd have to look away, and I found it very upsetting because, you know, like, I mean, so it's not that I don't care, but like we have to realize where our limitations are. Like the night I was, you know, getting the new puppy and I went home, it's like, what was I going to do really? You know, and the hope is they would give them some water at some point, you know, or sell them quickly. But, and with people, yeah, I mean, we can't take responsibility for people. We can't rescue them. We can't fix them. We can't change them. If somebody asks for help, I mean, a stranger on the street, that's kind of hard. But, you know, somebody asks for help and you know them, or you have a friend that knows them, and there's something you can help with, then I believe in trying to help. But, you know, it depends what it is, right? Yeah, I thank you, AJ, for being on here tonight. Have a good night. Morning now. Yeah, it's that time again. I think I finished up the last stream around this time, too. So, oh, friggin' hell. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to get going now. Definitely, because I want to see my partner before she conks out and falls asleep, if she's still up. Anyway, everybody take care. Looking forward to next time. Don't forget to thumb up the videos, eh? Because people forget. So after you watch, just try to remember. That's what that annoying scrolling thing is about. Trying to remind you. Everybody take care.